Ladies and gentlemen, it is a very warm welcome back to the Motive Racing YouTube channel for the PlayStation 5 GT3 Championship here on a Sunday night on Assetto Corsa Competizione here on the PlayStation 5, as I said before, for round 7 of this season, the penultimate round for Season 3 here on the PlayStation 5. We're coming to the business end now, and we're at Brands Hatch tonight for what I'm sure is going to be a pretty difficult track to overtake. It always is. It's never easy to come back from a lower grid position, so qualifying is going to be pretty key around this track here tonight, and I reckon that we're going to be seeing maybe a few drivers stacking it here in this qualifying session. It's not an easy track to get a lap in under pressure, so we could be seeing a few thrills and spills here over the course of this qualifying session. Right now, we've got our championship leader Robe, who sat at the top of the leaderboard after having had an absolute nightmare last week at Suzuka. There's no other word for it. Ended up P10 after being down the pack in the early lap on the first lap, down to a collision actually, which really hurt his race. So he'll be looking to try and bounce back from that and have a good result here this time around. He's currently sat at top of the leaderboard by almost a second here on a 123.6, so he's looking to try and bounce back. I'm going to read through the championship standings coming into tonight, so obviously to get you all in the loop as to what the situation is. It's Robe leading the way in first place in the championship on 218 points. You've got Henry, who is in second in the championship on 182, so there's 36 points separating the top two in the championship. You've got Kevsim in third in the championship coming into tonight, and he is on 164 points, so he's 54 behind Robe. Capriga only 1 point behind Kevsim, actually 55 behind the championship leader Robe, and he is on 163, as you could probably guess, in the Lamborghini. You've got Guido Christ sat in 5th in the standings. Took a bit of a hit last week because he wasn't here at Suzuka, so he's dropped a few places. He's on 159 points, and he is 59 points behind the championship leader Robe. Andrew sits in 6th in the standings on 157, only 2 points behind Guido Christ. Tumbaz in 7th place in the championship on 147, but the crucial thing is those top 6 I just read out there are the ones who are in a promotion spot to get into Tier 1. The top 6 will get promotion up into the top league here, so there's a lot at stake. And Tumbaz, a driver who's only 10 points off of that top 6, another driver who's not too far away, Exeron, who is only, well, he's a little bit further off. He's 25 points off of top 6 in 8th in the standings on 132. You've got Diego 27 points off of a top 6 spot. He's currently 9th in the standings on 130. And Kangi completing the top 10 coming into tonight. He is on 123 points. So he is 35 points off of a promotion, or 34 points off of a promotion spot. But he's been a bit unlucky this season with a few incidents and disconnections and stuff like that. So I wonder if he might be able to stage a bit of a late rally here in these final 2 rounds of the season. But Robe looking very good here for the title. He's 36 points clear, and he's looking very strong here tonight as well. Looks to be in ominous form so far out on track. We've got a few comments coming in here on the YouTube stream right now. Totally Zero K says hi, hello. JR says good luck Tier 2. Jazzman is my son, he says. And Glenn also saying good evening all, good luck, Error Code and Spur Time. And also JR saying hi to Nana, and love from JR, Lorna and Izzy. Thank you very much, JR. Also all the best to all of you as well. Hope you're all doing well. I keep meaning to tune in actually on some of your COD streams. I will one day I will actually chime in and make a comment on your COD streams. I've seen some of those that you do with Ryan and some of the boys, so yeah, I'll definitely check that out at some point, because I keep seeing them, but they've usually finished by the time I notice them. So yeah, but yeah, keep up the good work, and yeah, great to see you as always. But we've got currently halfway through this qualifying session here for round 7 of this season here for the PlayStation 5 GT3 Championship, and currently Totally Zero K's best of the rest. It's a very close sort of order between 2nd and 6th places right now. You've got 5 drivers here separated by about a 1/10 of a second, but they're all well adrift of the fastest man currently in his session, who is Robe. As we've got Albie Morris saying hi, all hello. That's Aussie Albie there in the comments, under his, well, I think that's his false name. I think that's his own undercover name, but I'm not going to tell you all his real name because that would be a bit of a breach of privacy. But Exeron there going into 2nd place, 0.6 of a second adrift of the fastest time. But yeah, good to see you, Aussie Albie, mate. Races with us on Project Cars 2 on a Monday and a Thursday night in the Clio Cup and the Touring Car Championships, and raced with us on F1 as well. Made his debut on the F1 League on a Friday night, so that was good to see. obviously getting up to speed with that, and there's a lot of drivers in here who have played that game for quite some time, so they're obviously not fully up to speed with it just yet, or rather he's not up to their speed yet, which you could understand. But yeah, currently that looks like that's Extra on here who's parked it by the side of the road. We've got yeah, he's saying all good mate, I don't mind. Fair play. But yeah, we're nonetheless good to see you in the comments there, Aussie Albie. Actually, he races with us on well, on Project Cars 2. We often talk in the midweek, and to be fair, he did actually say he'd be joining the F1 League. Oh, it's Kev Sim there's lost it coming through the third to last corner. He's completely binned it there onto the grass, and he's going to have to return to the pits and get those damages repaired. But yeah, he did actually say that he would be looking to jump in the F1 League, and then on Friday afternoon I got a little DM saying, can I join tonight? And I was like, yeah, of course you can. Oh, of course. But saying that, there were a few incidents on Friday night in the F1 League which do need addressing. But Aussie, if you were a bit put off by joining the F1 League on Friday night, we are actually looking into sorting those problems out. So hopefully we'll have them pretty much tied up and sorted out. There's a few inquiries and stuff, but yeah, we're trying to get on top of them and trying to stop half of our grid from departing the league. But nonetheless, a funny looking guy there is going to third place, so he's only 7/10 of a second adrift now of Robe. So Extra and a funny looking guy has just started to bridge that gap bit by bit here to Robe. But again, we've not got that much of the qualifying session left here, only 5 minutes, so probably it's time for 3 or 4 more laps in this session before we get to the end. As I've just seen Kangi there going to P7, so he's moved up 1 place. But yes, very close here between 4th and 8th places. There's only a 10th of a second covering all of those drivers, so it's a very, very tight pack from basically 4th down to 8th place at this point. Also very close between 11th place and all the way down to really 18th. So you've basically got, oh no, hold on, that's just changed because I think, yeah, so sorry, 12th down to 18th. So yeah, 0.3 of a second covering all the way down from 12th to 18th places. There, Jill Silverin, Leximate, MCVDG, Tumbas, Capriglia, Henry, and Spur Time. So yeah, we're seeing quite a few bunched up times here in this qualifying session right now. As we've got the provisional posted to here, Robe just coming to the final few corners. Oh, and the funny looking guy stacked it there, coming out the second to last corner. Bins it right in front of a Lamborghini, who I think was Capriglia. It was Capriglia, so that might have affected his time of it. And obviously, Robe, if he was on a faster lap time there, that lap time is now going to have gone out of the window. So that's going to be an unfortunate situation for him. But then again, he is on provisional pole by over 0.6 of a second, so I'm sure he's not going to be crying too much about that. But with 4 minutes left in this session, can anybody get a little bit closer to him? Are we going to see a change? Can anybody get themselves on the front row? Can a funny guy maybe find a 10th of a second and put himself ahead of Exeron? Can any of these guys, Tony 0K, Kevsim, Guido Christ, Kangi, maybe Andrew, get themselves on the front row potentially? I don't think any of them are going to be able to beat Robe, because he seems to be in a league of his own right now in this qualifying session. He's clearly got the 1 lap pace around his brand attached GP circuit, but has he got the race pace? I wouldn't put it past him to have the race pace, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But I'll tell you what, guys, it is great to have my normal voice back here this week. Last week we were struggling quite a bit, if I'm honest. Oh, it's Robe loses it there coming through the middle sector, puts it in the wall, so he's going to be retiring to the pits and getting that fixed. As we see Exeron coming over the line, doesn't improve on P2 for the time being. But yeah, I was just going to say it's great to have my proper healthy strong voice here this week, because last week I was really struggling. I had some kind of well, I don't know if it was flu. I thought it might be COVID, but I don't think it was in hindsight, because it didn't last very long. It was only about 3 or 4 days that I felt unwell, so I don't think it was COVID. I think it must have been flu. But yeah, I felt like death. Honestly, I felt like absolute death last Sunday. I was coughing, I couldn't get my words out, I was struggling to breathe. And yeah, this week I feel absolutely fine, and pretty much from about Wednesday onwards I felt completely back to normal. Monday night, the night after, I was considerably better already, because I had the Clio Cup stream on Project Cars 2 on, and I had pretty much no problems there. And then by about Wednesday or Thursday I was sort of up to about 75%, and then by now obviously I'm 100% again. I'm back to normal. So no issues, no dramas, it's all absolutely sorted. As Glenn GT in the comments saying man flu, yeah, I think you're probably right, Glenn, to be honest with you. It probably is definitely man flu-like symptoms. But we've got Exeron here coming out of the last corner, and we've got, well, he'll have 2 more laps in this session after this one, so let's see what he can put on the board as he comes over the line. Exeron stays in P3 for the time being, but Guido Chris currently on the front row alongside Robe is making gains. He's been chipping away at that fastest time. Can he find a little bit more here as he's coming out of the final corner? Up towards the line comes Guido Chris. Was second in the championship before last week when he had to miss the round at Suzuka. He improves fractionally, but nowhere near enough to put it on pole position. So look, that looks like that's his session done. Exeron's coming through to the end of the first sector. You've got Totally 0K coming up towards the line. First week in the McLaren for Totally 0K. Switch from the Ferrari to the McLaren. Stays in 5th place for the time being. We've got Kangi coming through in towards the final corner. What can he do in the Bentley as he's getting onto the power and out of the glass corner? Oh, he gets a bit wide there onto the gravel ever so slightly. But up towards the line comes Kangi. What is the time going to be for him as he comes over and stays in 7th place for the time being? Who else have we got coming over the line at the moment? I'm just trying to scope for who else we've got sort of coming towards the end of a lap, but I can't really find anyone at the moment. Diego's just starting a lap. He's currently sat in 10th on the leaderboard at the moment. But yeah, I can't really find anyone who's at the sharp end in the leaderboard that's coming towards the end of a lap at this point. Looks like we got Henry. Was he already in 4th? No, he wasn't. So Henry's moved himself up the order a few places. Last week's posted to Suzuka. He's also a 2-time race winner this season at Circuit of the Americas and Barcelona, but last week wasn't able to convert his first ever pole position at Suzuka. Went for an unusual strategy for him, went for a half-tank tyre change strategy, which he doesn't usually go for. Usually he does the whole race on one set of tyres, and I reckon we'll probably be seeing him do that strategy here tonight, because Brands Hatch is a circuit you can generally make the tyres last. So I think he should be alright. And obviously the track temperature is not too high as well, only 22 degrees, so it's not going to be too hard to sort of keep them in check. But we see Totally 0K coming up towards the line. Can he improve on P6? No, he can't. Stays in that position for the time being. We've got Kevsim going through Druids at the moment. The checker flag is out, so the drivers can finish the lap that they're on, but after that, that will be that for the session. As Kangi comes over the line and doesn't improve on P8. We've got somebody just behind Kangi just coming over the line, but I'm not quite sure who it was at the moment, as Kevsim looks like he's done for the session, so P7 at best for him here tonight. Jill Silverin's parked it, so he's out of qualifying as well. Day 666 is coming through the middle sector at the moment, currently sat in 18th on this leaderboard. Henry is going to be one of the last drivers to finish a lap here as he's coming up towards the line. What's it going to be for Henry here? Can he get himself on the front row maybe? No, he improves by a tiny bit, but not enough. He improved by the most minuscule margin you could ever imagine. And he's still only 7 thousandths of a second clear of a funny looking guy, so literally just a couple of thousandths he gained there on that last lap. So Henry, no position change for him. Luke van der Street's coming through the final, or into the final sector now. I think he's going to be one of the last drivers to finish a lap. Spur Time's also out there. He's coming through the penultimate corner. Lexi Mate's now pitted, so he's now done. So it's just Spur Time and Luke van der Street who will finish a lap, and now Spur Time's parked it as well. So Luke van der Street's with the last driver to finish a lap here in qualifying. As we got Robe there saying that I don't know how I got that time. I'm shocked really. So is everybody else, Robe, to be fair. But Luke van der Street's over the line and stays in P9. Doesn't improve, and that is that then for the qualifying session. So Robe on pole position by over half a second here. A dominant lap time there from him, and he's looking very good to try and bounce back from last week's unfortunate showing. Really, at Suzuka didn't really have the best of races. Had a turbulent opening lap, and from there it just never really got going. But tonight he is on pole position by over half a second, so looking to try and stamp down his authority here. Could potentially take the championship as well here tonight, Robe. If he manages to outscore Henry by over 15 points, then he will take the championship. So let me just read out the hypotheticals here. So if Robe were to win the race and Henry were to finish 3rd or lower, then Robe would be the champion already. So basically Henry has to come in 2nd if Robe wins the race. So tonight we could be crowning a new champion here at Motive. Could be that Robe will become the Tier 2 GT3 champion for Season 3 here on ACC, and that will be absolutely great there if he can do that. But Henry, I'm sure, will be giving it everything, and probably doing a long strategy here of not changing tyres and putting all the fuel in at the start. But we're just going to have to wait and see how this one goes. We're just getting ready to go here. Everybody's just doing their final little preparations and their adjustments to their setups before we officially get underway here for round 7 of 8 for season 3, the penultimate round of the season here at Motive for the GT3 Championship here on Assetto Corsa Competizione. So here we are then, guys. We're just getting ready to go here for round 7 of the season here at Motive at Brands Hatch. Brands Hatch is going to be a difficult track to overtake. These guys are going to know, the ones down the order especially, that they're going to have their work cut out. They're going to have to really get their elbows out to get anywhere here in this race. 1 hour with a mandatory pit stop. That mandatory pit stop can be undertaken at any point throughout the race. There's no constraints on when that pit stop can be done. It can be done on the first lap. It can be done on the last lap. The only rule is that it's got to be done. You can't pit on the last lap. So obviously, if you finish the race in the pit lane, you're DQ'd, or if you cross the line in the pits, then you're DQ'd. So you need to do it before you start your final lap of the race. So you can do it on the penultimate lap, and essentially you start the final lap on in the pits if you want to. It's however you want to do it. But here we are then. We are moments away from the start of this very short formation, which will be literally just round the final corner up towards the line, and then we'll be officially underway here for round 7 of 8 for this GT3 Championship here, season 3 on the PlayStation 5 platform. And they're just now coming around the final corner. You can see there Robe leading us around. The championship leader leads this race, or leads this championship by 36 points. As I said before, if he wins the race tonight, Henry must come in second in order to keep the championship alive until the final round next week, which will be at Kyle Army. So that's another DLC track there, so hopefully all the guys have got it. But here we are up towards the line nonetheless, and we're just about to go green here, as there we go, we're underway. Green down towards Paddock Hill Bend we go for the first time. Robe's got Guido Christ looking around his outside as we come through Paddock Hill Bend. You've got Extra on looking up the inside there of Guido Christ as we're coming now up towards Druids. And looks like Robe's got the run here up the hill, as we can see a funny looking guy looking up the inside here of Henry. Henry's getting pushed out a little bit, and it's got Totally Zero K looking up his inside, but holds it around the outside. But it's Robe ahead of Guido Christ, Extra on there in third, as Henry's looking back up the inside of a funny looking guy into turn 3, but nothing doing. Totally Zero K has to tuck in behind Henry, and then you've got Kev Sim there running just behind them, followed by Andrew, who seems to have made a couple of places here ahead of Kangi and Capriglia. And you've got Luke Van the Streets there running behind them ahead of Diego, and somebody's off in the background. Who is that that's run very wide? I'm not quite sure just at the moment. We'll probably find out when we reach the timing board. That's MCBDG, who's had a bit of a horror show there. He is down to the back of the pack, and the other car there, I believe, well, who's that with Day 666? It is Jill Silverin. So Jill Silverin was the car who ran wide there, as he's got Day on the back of him right now, so not the best of first laps there for Jill Silverin at all. But it's currently Robe leading ahead of Guido Christ, followed by Exeron. There's a funny looking guy ahead of Henry, followed by Totally Zero K. You've got Kev Sim in 7th ahead of Andrew, followed by Kangi. As we can see a bit of a slide there from Kangi. He's looking now to the outside of, and he's looking on the back of Andrew here. So we can see in the foreground there that Kangi, they're going to get very wide onto the grass, and he's going to lose out possibly here. I think he's going to lose out to Capriglia. Capriglia looking around the outside here at the final corner. Has he got enough of a run? As now we've got Diego looking up the inside here of Kangi as well, and this is going to get juicy. He's going to get the run here, and that's going to be job done there for Diego. Now he's going to look up the inside of Capriglia as well into Paddock Hill Bend, but he has to tuck in there. He's not going to get that move done going into the first corner, as he gets a bit of a slide there, does Capriglia. Now Diego looking up the inside into Druids, and has he got enough for a run? He's going to send it up the inside, but Capriglia sees that one coming from a mile off, goes for the cutback. Oh, as Diego's trying to cut back at him, and Diego being very silly there, and goes into the wall, and he's going about damage. He needs to put the brakes on, and to be fair, he did a good job there of keeping out of the way. He saw that there was a pack coming, and he slammed the brakes on and stayed well out of the way, but Diego dropping way down the order there. As in the meantime, we've got Robe, Guido Christ, Extra on the top 3. They've broken away a little bit from a funny looking guy here in this first lap. You've got Henry there, who's lost out to Totally Zero K. So Totally Zero K's got himself into P5. Kev Sim there's running just behind Andrew at the moment. So Andrew's up into 7th place, as we see a couple of guys going a bit wide there. But Henry trying to hassle the back of Totally Zero K, trying to get back on him after losing that place. As in the background, you've got the mid-pack battles going on right now. Spur Time has got Tumbaz looking all over the back of him right now, as those two are very, very close. But there is everybody fighting for your shot there, and that is the situation right now here in the first 2 laps of this race. Robe still leading ahead of Guido Christ and Exteron, who are sticking to the back of him at the moment. A second separating the top 3. Robe hasn't got that dominance in pace that we saw in qualifying. He's currently got a stiff test here from Guido Christ, who's not letting him run off into the distance with this by any means. But into Paddock Hill Bend we go for the 3rd time in this race. And there are your top 4. The Robe, Guido Christ, Exteron and the funny looking guy. There's Totally Zero K, who's managed to gap Henry and Andrew a little bit. They've still got Kevsim on the back of them as well. But Andrew, can he get a run here up the hill towards Druid, should I say? He's got Kevsim looking up his inside. And he gets a bit of a tap there. Kevsim goes steaming into the back of Andrew. Andrew's round and Kevsim waits for him as the rest of the pack behind them are coming through. Andrew's going to be let past there by Kevsim. So Kevsim there losing a lot of places as well. Both of them dropping down the order. That is P16, that's DGR Snoopy making his debut tonight, swooping around the outside there of Kevsim. So Kevsim now down to P16, Andrew down in 13th place, so that's gone horribly wrong there for both of those two. They have lost a load of places here in the early stages of this race, but still Robbie leading by just over a second ahead of Guido Christ. There's Exteron in 3rd place. Funny looking guys right on the back of these guys as well, as they've managed to gap Totally Zero K, and Henry's now trying to charge after Totally Zero K if he can. There's that pack of cars behind them that we saw before. But dramatic first sort of 3 laps to this race, and still pretty much the situation is Robe's leading the race, but he's managed to gap Guido Christ by a little bit here. You can see the gap's just over a second now between Robe and Guido Christ. So Robe's starting to get the hammer down ever so slightly. He's starting to try and put daylight here between himself and these 2 chasers of Guido Christ and Exteron, as we're coming over the line here to complete this next lap. In fact, what's happened to Exteron? Exteron's dropped here somewhere. Exteron's got damage on the front of the car. Look at that. You can see that front bumper there has definitely had a bit of a skirmish, and a funny looking guy is now into 3rd place and doing the fastest laps of the race at the moment as well. Did the fastest lap of all on that previous time around. So a funny looking guy now looking on the back of Guido Christ. Can he get himself a P2 or get himself a win here in this race? He's currently on the podium. He's had a bit of a patchy season as a funny looking guy. Let's say that because a bit of inconsistency. He's had a few incidents, namely at Silverstone, where he got involved in a crash with Andrew coming through Maggots and Beckett's on the 1st lap. But apart from that, it's just been a couple of silly little mistakes here, retirements, and just not really showing his full potential. But currently here he's in 3rd place on the back of Robe and Guido Christ, so could this be his chance to get a win on the board and really show what he's capable of? He's always got pace as a funny looking guy. He's always up there in terms of outright pace, but can he deliver it here tonight as we're looking back to the middle, to the sort of that 7th place battle here between Capriglia, Kangi, Luke Van der Streets and Spur Time. These 4 guys separated by not much at all. There's somebody in the foreground there getting it all wrong, clicking up some of the grass there, so I don't know what was going on there or who that was, but somebody really riding over the dirt a little bit there. But this is still the battle going on for 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th places here, all the way from Capriglia, Kangi, Luke Van der Streets and Spur Time. They've had a second clear of Tumbaz, who's a bit clear of a Coding Monkey, who's got Andrew and Kevsim on the back of him. So these 2 who crashed a couple of laps ago, who were running up high in the early stages, and now running obviously not too far off of a top 10 spot. So both of these 2 are making progress after that collision, but they've got a long way to go here, and somebody's dropped it there on the grass. Who is it? I'm going to try and work this out here. I didn't, obviously you don't get a live timing board, it's always a bit behind. Was it Chinaski? Oh, it's Chinaski. So Chinaski there, a lap down, getting onto the grass to get well out of the way. So fair play to Chinaski there for that one. Good conscientious driving there from him. So yeah, well done to him for moving aside. But currently this is the battle here for 7th place, which is going on between Capriglia, Luke Van der Streets, Kangi and Spur Time at the moment. So these guys continuing to battle it, but Robe is just under a second ahead of Guido Christ right now as they're coming through into the final sector of this lap that they're currently on. A funny looking guy has just dropped off a little bit of Guido Christ over the course of the last lap or so. So Guido Christ getting closer to the leader and getting further away from a funny looking guy. Kevsim really pressuring Andrew as these guys are in 12th and 13th places now. So who have they got ahead of? I'm not quite sure. Oh, it's because Snoopy's come into the pit. So Snoopy's making a very early pit stop here, following in the footsteps of Chinaski. So those 2 coming in. We're not even 10 minutes into the race and they're already coming in. So obviously they're going to be full tanking it. There's no point in changing tyres and putting fuel in at this stage in the race. there's no benefit whatsoever to doing that, so they're going to be full tanking it, and they're probably going to have enough to get to the end from whatever they're doing here. As we've got Luke van der Street looking to the inside of Capriglia coming into Druids, but he's not close enough at the moment, has to tuck in for the time being. So Leximate's got ahead of a Coding Monkey up into 14th place. That one's yet to update on the timing board. These two have got error code on the back of them right now as well. So Leximate there running in P14 now, up 1 place. Luke van der Street still trying to hassle the back of Capriglia. Capriglia's dropped off of Henry ever so slightly over the course of this lap so far, but Luke van der Street's still too far away off of the back of Capriglia to go for a move at the end of the back straight. Kev Sim still within striking distance of Andrew at the moment. A Coding Monkey is now well behind Leximate. So, well, he's not well behind, but actually no, he's still there. Actually, to be fair, those two are still running together. Error codes dropped off at the back of these two actually a little bit over the course of this lap so far. There's the two leaders who have gapped a funny looking guy by over 2 seconds now. So Robe and Gilchrist looking a lot better in 1 and 2 at this stage. Luke van der Street's almost pushing Capriglia along here as they're coming into turn 1. Capriglia defending the inside line. Can Luke van der Street's go around the outside here? Capriglia now looking up the inside of Henry as well. He's up the inside. Oh, and Luke just gives Henry a bit of a tap there. Henry pushed wide and he's going to go onto the marbles here on the outside as Luke van der Street squeezes through. Now can Luke manage to get Capriglia as well? Capriglia loses it and drops it into him, and Luke van der Street's into the wall, and that was inevitable, I have to say, as it just looked like Capriglia just got a little bit out of shape there onto the curve on the outside. Now Henry's going to look back to the outside of Capriglia here as they come into turn 4. Kangi manages to make his way through that unscathed up into, I think, P5, oh no, P6 there, should I say, as Capriglia is going to lose out to Henry down this little back straight. Spur time on the back of these, but Luke van der Street has lost out massively there, down to 10th place. But Capriglia trying to come back at Henry down to the end of the back straight, but nothing doing. And Kangi there is going to be definitely rubbing his hands together after that one, because he's going to have been the major benefactor in that little skirmish there that went on. Kev Sim coming on the back of Tumbaz here as these guys battle it out over 11th place. Andrew's been into the pits, so he's bailed out of that battle that he was having with Kev Sim, obviously playing catch up in this race after that collision that both of those two had earlier on. So they're now making their way through. High Grade there reminding us to reset the tier 1 server. Thank you very much, High Grade. It's tradition now that High Grade reminds me to do this every single week. High Grade ends up commenting on the stream saying, come on, it's time. But there we go. Tier 1 server is now reset, guys, so you can now practice. You have 1 hour. But the gap at the front between Robe and Gilchrist now nearly 2 seconds, so Robe starting to stamp down his authority and show the sort of pace that we saw in qualifying, where he was half a second clear of everybody else. Gilchrist still keeping him on the same page though. A funny looking guy definitely dropping off of these two considerably at this point. Exeron is now trying to close up onto the back of a funny looking guy, but actually Exeron has made a mistake here because he's got totally 0k right on the back of him. So I didn't see what happened there to Exeron, but he has obviously dropped it somewhere in the first sector. He's also got a bit of damage on the rear of that car as well, so I wonder if he's run over a curb somewhere or something. He's also got damage on the front, so Exeron's not had the best of runs over the last couple of laps of this race, but he's got totally 0k pulling up onto the back of him right now, as we see somebody kicking up some dirt in the foreground there. But there's Exeron and then totally 0k running just half a second apart at the moment. Spur time's currently on the back of Henry as these guys are coming down towards the final corner. You've got Capriglia, who's actually fallen behind Tumbaz here. So Capriglia's made a mistake somewhere and is now trying to get around Tumbaz. So I didn't see what happened there to Capriglia, but he's now dropped 3 places here on this lap so far. Spur time's still on the back of Henry as these guys start lap 9 of the race. Luke van der Street has got Kev Sim looking up his inside into turn 1, and Kev Sim's going to make the move there on the brakes. Beautifully done there, and it's BMW versus BMW, and it's a change of position there between those two in the foreground. Spur time looking down the inside here of Henry. Henry leaves in the space, hugs the curb on the outside, has the inside for turn 3. Spur time looking up the inside, but nothing doing at the moment, and Henry holds on just about as he's now having to defend here because Spur time's got a bit of a run down towards turn 4. And there we go, he manages to keep onto that one, does Henry, as Kev Sim there in the background, now into 9th place, can now try and pick these guys off, but they're battling with each other at the moment, so he's not going to find it easy at all, that is for sure. Spur Time looking to the outside of Henry into the end, towards the end of the back straight, but can't get anything done at the moment. Oh, as they both go a bit wide, and Spur Time's going to have a run here. He's going to surely make the move down the inside of Henry. Henry going wide, very, very wide there onto the grass. Does Spur Time get a run? As now you can see there that you got, well, Kevsim now looking to try and pick off Spur Time as well. Henry's all over the place. He's really struggling right now. Has he got some big damage there on a car, which is really affecting him? He's got a train of cars behind him. He's still currently leading this train of 4 cars. Spur Time looks to the outside, coming down towards the final corner. Henry's got the run and is holding on to that one for now. Can Spur Time get a good exit out of the final corner and maybe make a move into Paddock Hill Bend, as it doesn't look like he's able to really get the greatest of runs here down the start-finish straight. Henry will keep on to P7 for the time being. You've got Kevsim looking to the inside of Spur Time, trying to put him off a little bit, but no dramas there. Still as you were between these guys, and no one's really close enough to make a move coming into Druids. It's still going to be as you were between these guys. Oh, Spur Time, very late on the brakes there. Oh, and Henry gets pushed around there by Kevsim. Spur Time a little bit aggressive there. I got to say, that might be on him. I don't know what the steward's going to make of that one afterwards, but yeah, that was a little bit naughty there. Henry dropping a few places as he's now got a few cars behind him. So yeah, Henry's going to have every right to be a little bit upset with that one, I've got to say. But Spur Time nonetheless continuing on his way there. He's got now 2 seconds back to Luke van der Street. He's got Kevsim really close on the back of him right now as well, as these guys coming through the middle sector of the lap. They've got Tumbaz just on the back of them as well. So this is currently a 3-way battle here for 8th place, which is now well off of the back of Spur Time, who went very aggressive indeed up the inside into Druids, but who knows, on his onboard he might have braked in the same place he's been braking in throughout the duration of the race. We'll just have to see how, whatever we've got on the table in front of us, we'll have to obviously go through. As Luke van der Street has got Kevsim looking up his inside into the final corner. Kevsim gets that one done again. Is he going to hold on to it this time though? That's the question. As we come down the start-finish straight, now Luke van der Street has got Tumbaz on his back as well. As Tumbaz looking to the inside into turn 1, but not quite close enough to send one there into Paddock Hill Bend for now. But now Kevsim can try and chase down the guys ahead. Spur Time 3 seconds up the road. Also, Kangi is, well, about 10 seconds up the road, but Spur Time's coming around to put a lap on somebody who is just up ahead coming through turn 4. So that would be the number 720 of a Coding Monkey there, who's just ahead of Spur Time. But currently the race leader Robo's got a 4-second gap at the moment over GT3, so he's continuing to extend that gap by quite a bit as well. He's not just eking it out, he is now putting daylight between himself and Guido Chris. You've got Totally Zero K running in 5th place. He's very close to the back of Exeron still. These two still fighting it out over 4th place at the moment as they're coming through the penultimate corner right now. So Totally Zero K still trying to keep Exeron under pressure, trying to keep him guessing, just maybe trying to force him into a bit of a mistake. But at the moment it's just Exeron holding on and just doing what he needs to do, holding firm. As Luke van der Street's there running in 9th place, just ahead of Tumbaz still. But they're on the back of Kevsim, who's trying to pull away. Kevsim's actually gapped these two a little bit over the course of this lap so far. Is that Spur Time? No, it's not. That is a lap car here who's coming through the final corner. And that is actually a Coding Monkey there who's just up ahead of these guys. So they will be putting a lap on him in a few moments' time. As Lexi Mate's still got Caprigia putting the pressure on him here in this battle for 11th and 12th places, so Caprigia is still not giving up in this battle, that's for sure. Totally Zero K still right on the back of Exeron at the moment as they're coming down this back straight, which leads down towards the middle part of the lap. Gap at the front between Robe and Guido Crest still 4 seconds. We don't know what the situation is in terms of tyres or fuel, who's running a half tank with a tyre change and who's planning on doing the whole race on one set of tyres. But Robe, to be fair, he did have to pace in qualifying, so you'd expect him to be the quickest man in the race, and so far he has been just that. On average in this race so far, it's been about 3/10 a lap quicker than Guido Crist, about half a second quicker in qualifying. So all in all, not, well, it's kind of where you'd expect him to be. Guido Crist actually was 4/10 quicker on that previous lap than Robe. So did Robe make a mistake, or is Guido Crist starting to get into this a little bit? A funny looking guy still going in 3rd place. He's just under 10 seconds off of the lead at this point. Exeron and Totally Zero K still fighting it out over 4th and 5th. There's Kangi running in P6 right now. Spur time running in 7th place in a bit of isolation here. 3 seconds clear of Kevson. And Luke van der Streets has dropped it here. He must have dropped it coming through the final corner. He's now lost out a load of places here by the looks of it. Where has he come out in all of this? Luke van der Streets with a big mistake. That is Jill Silverman making his way through. So Luke van der Streets is down in 16th place. And he's going to have Andrew surely coming up on him. No, error code. So error code's right behind Luke van der Streets. Luke van der Streets, what a shame, as he was running in a solid position there. And he's now down in 15th place. So it couldn't have gone much worse there for him, really. He might have a bit of damage there on the front of the car as well. I don't know if that's off the curb or whether that's through contact with the barriers, but nonetheless, he is down in 15th place, and he's really going to have shot himself in the foot there, as we see Snoopy back in the pits again. So he's already come in for his mandatory. He's now coming in for another pit stop here. So his night has gone from, well, I suppose it wasn't too bad before, but it certainly is now. But totally okay on the back of Exron here, as these guys coming through in towards the final corner right now. But it just looks like Exron's got every answer to them right now. I don't know whether or not these two are working together. They are running in what's it called, consecutive numbers, which often signifies that drivers are teammates. I don't know whether that's the situation there with these two. They're driving in the same car, consecutive numbers, although saying that Totally Zero K is in one of the default liveries and Exron's running a custom, so I don't quite know. But I don't seem to be. It doesn't look like Totally Zero K is putting too much pressure on him. So I wonder if these two are friends or working together. I'm not quite sure what the situation is between those two. But Leximate's still within a second of Thomas at the moment. It's those two going into Druids. You've got Capriga still on the back of them as well. Henry there's running in 12th place. He's got Diego on the back of him. They've got a bit of a gap back to Jill Silver, and there's Luke van der Streets running ahead of Error Code. Robe's gap to Guido Chris has actually come down over the last few laps. I'll tell you what, Guido Chris is really gaining on Robe at the moment. He's been just chipping away a little bit by bit. The gap was up to 4 seconds at one point. It's now under 3. So if Guido Chris continues what he's doing right now, he'll be in striking distance in, I don't know, maybe about 5 laps time. Saying that, we are approaching the pit window. Maybe Robe's just looking after those tyres, becoming conscious of the fact that the pit window is approaching. Is he full tanking it maybe? I don't quite know. But nonetheless, oh wow, I'll tell you what, Guido Chris lost time on that last sector there. I don't know if he made a mistake. Must have made some kind of mistake coming through the final sector there, because the gap went from 2.9 to 3.7. So Robe gained 0.8 of a second coming through just that final sector there. And it's now quite a way clear of Guido Chris here. But Totally Zero K still on the back of Exron. You can see those two separate by 0.8. Was Totally Zero K wide onto the gravel there. And that would have just lost his momentum a little bit coming into Druids. Capriga still on the back of Leximate, as these guys are coming out of the last corner here, about to complete their 14th laps of the race. You've got Diego, who's still on the back of Henry as they're coming over the line here to complete their 14th laps of the race. Totally Zero K though now over a second behind Exeron, so obviously with Totally Zero K's little mistake that we saw coming out of Padicle Bend, that's just cost him a little bit of time here, and he's now a little way behind, not massively behind, but certainly that's lost him just a little bit of ground here, as the gap between Robe and Guido Chris now up to 3.9, so Robe's gained 0.2 through the first sector. Keep an eye on this gap as it's developing, because it's yo-yoing a little bit here, but on the whole, Robe's been a little bit quicker in the first phase of this race. I flashed the lights there from Robe to the back marker of Day, who moves well out of the way there and allows Robe to continue on his way. But the big news, and I'm going to say this as it is right now, Robe is currently in a championship taking position. If he can win the race here tonight, as long as Henry doesn't finish in the top 2, if Robe wins the race, he will take the Tier 2 championship for tonight. So a big night here for Robe. He leads the championship by 36 points coming into tonight, and obviously if he, well, as it stands here with Henry down in 12th place, he will wrap up the championship quite comfortably going into the final round next week at Kyle Army. Also, Jazzman here tonight only has to finish in 5th in the Tier 1s to wrap up the championship, so we could be seeing both championships wrapped up with a round to spare this season, which in a way is almost a bit of a shame, but I suppose it gives us a bit of excitement here tonight. But then next week obviously we miss out on having that sort of that last ditch drama, kind of like decider type of thing. So, but hey, it doesn't really matter how it's done, does it? It's history. It's how it's done. You just got to. You can't script history. You've just got to report it. That's how it is, really. But yeah, it could be that we see a new champion written into our books here tonight. Robe, if he continues doing what he's doing right now with that 4-second lead that he's got over Guido Christ at this point, totally 0k within a second of extra on at the moment as these two coming through the penultimate corner. Henry's on the back of Alexi, mate, as he's trying to get himself back up this order here. Can he hold on to his slim championship hopes and get himself into second place here tonight? It's looking extremely unlikely, I've got to say. But he's just making a move here around the outside of Leximate. Leximate's got the inside covered off though, and he's going to keep on to that position for the time being. It doesn't look like there's any way through for Henry just at the moment then. Is he going to go over? Oh, Henry's just binned it there, coming out of the penultimate corner. He's had a big moment there, and Diego moves through, and I think that Jill Silverin might move through as well here. So Jill Silverin moves up into 13th place, and Henry there with a bit of a mistake. He's got big damage on the car. He's coming into the pits to save his blushes and get it sorted out. But I wonder if he's going to be full tanking or half tanking. But nonetheless, Henry's race here tonight, pretty much his race and his championship hanging by a thread here as he's now coming into the pits. Now, is he going to put any fuel in the car? Is he changing tyres or putting fuel in? That's the big question here with Henry. You never know what he's going to do with the strategy. Yeah, to me that definitely looks like he's doing something, or he is fixing damage, to be fair, so that would account for some of it. But I wonder if he's going to change damage, maybe he'll just change, maybe he'll put fuel in as well and change tyres. He might as well, with the time that he's in there, he might as well change tyres as well and fuel. Or he might not need fuel, but you know, definitely tyres. But in the meantime, Robe is leading the race by 4 seconds ahead of Guido Christ. You've got a funny looking guy there running a few seconds behind Guido Christ. He's currently 12 seconds off the lead in 3rd place. Extra on here, and Totally 0k still battling into Paddock Hill Bend. It looked like Totally 0k had a bit of a run coming into turn 1, but nothing doing into Druids They Come, and Exeron still got that held onto. Kangi's starting to hunt these guys down now in 6th place. He's within 2 seconds of these as he's continued to battle it out, so Kangi could be sensing a P4 on the cards here in this race. Robe still 4 seconds clear of Guido Christ right now. As we see Exeron and Totally 0k there, separated by 0.6 of a second right now. A bit of a slide there from Totally 0k as we go through the penultimate corner. He's still keeping Exeron on his toes right now. But we're on lap 19 here. We're approaching the halfway point for the tier 2s here at Motive for the Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Championship Season 3, race 7 of 8, penultimate round of the season. Tonight is the night where we could be seeing Robe taking the tier 2 title, as he's got a reasonable lead right now in the championship standings. And obviously with Henry, his closest challenger, struggling tonight. He's currently in 16th, but he was in 12th before he came in for the pits, so he was still struggling even before his pit stop. He's just come out ahead of Leximate and Luke van der Street. So, well, Luke van der Street is well behind, but he's come out just ahead of Leximate there, who's just behind him there as they're running in 16th and 17th places. We see Diego into the pits. So Diego coming in here at the end of lap 18. We've got 10 of you currently watching the stream. Guys, if you're enjoying what you're seeing right now, please do smash the like button, as it really does help us out an enormous amount. If you want to get involved in the action, be sure to go to www.motiveracing.com as well, as we've got leagues on ACC, Project Cars 2 and F1. But we've got next season for the ACC, maybe thinking of getting a 3rd tier up and running. We've had 20 plus drivers every week for both tiers for the GT3 Championship. So, and obviously usually most seasons we do have an influx of people who want to join, so if you're interested, definitely head over to the website, get involved in our PlayStation 5 GT3 leagues. Oh, I better pick this up because my boss is ringing me. Sorry guys, just had to quickly pick that one up, but we are currently here on lap 21 of the Tier 2s for the GT3 Championship here on ACC Automotive. We've got a couple of drivers coming into the pits here at the midway point. We've got Guido Christin, so is Exteron, and so is Spur Time as well, so plenty of drivers coming in here for their pit stop. Obviously we've got the drivers who are probably going to be full tanking it, staying out for the time being. I don't know whether Robe's one of them or a funny looking guy or any of these guys up the front, but for sure we see Guido Chris there coming out. He's now back out on the track. Exteron stood in the box, Spur Time also stood in the box, but it's difficult to know what strategy they're on. You kind of have to wait until everyone's come out before you can draw conclusions as to who's changed tyres and who's not changed tyres, and who's obviously put fuel in as well, because you either half tank it with tyres with a tyre change, or you pretty much do the whole race on one set with no fuel being added, which means you've got to run more fuel at the start and have a heavier car, but obviously less time in the pits as well. But we see a funny looking guy coming into the pits here at the end of lap 21, so he's just coming into the box as we speak. As here he comes, there he stops in the box now. So he's the only driver actually to come in bang on the halfway point. Oh, actually no, I eat my words there, because Day's coming in as well. So funny looking guy and Day there, the two drivers to come into the pits at the midway point exactly, and in fact make that three, because there's somebody else coming in behind them. That is Kev Sim. So three drivers coming in at the halfway point. In fact no, Tom Bass is now coming in. Well, to be fair, we're now past the halfway point, so yeah, drivers now coming in thick and fast here during this pit window. So Robe's staying out for the time being. Is he going to be in this time around? If he's not, we've probably got to start considering the fact that he might be full tanking it. But he's just coming up towards the final corner here. And yeah, here he comes round the final corner. So it looks like he's continuing on his way, so he's not coming in for a tyre change or for any pit stop of any description at this point. He's got 25 seconds back to Totally Zero K, who's now running in P2, obviously with other drivers coming in. So Guido Chris is now only 3 seconds ahead of Andrew, or is he? Is that right? Yeah. So Andrew seems to have gained loads of places in the pits, but I don't think he's changed tyres. I think he must have not changed tyres. Guido Chris obviously has. A funny looking guy came in for an early pit stop. Did he change tyres? I mean, we're going to find out probably over the next few laps. We'll see what sort of lap times they're doing. That will give us a bit of a clue. We got Mr. Lemon saying, tried to join the Tier 1 lobby multiple times, won't let me in. Mr. Lemon, what's your PlayStation name? Let me know, because I've forgotten. I've forgotten who you are. But yeah, currently we've got still Robe's still yet to pit. Totally Zero K, Kangi both need to come in. Kangi is still on the back of Totally Zero K, but Kangi's been sort of closing in on Totally Zero K the last few laps. Totally Zero K was actually having quite an exciting battle earlier on. But obviously he's currently running just ahead of Kangi at this point. But I reckon that Exteron has definitely been into the pits for some tyres, because he's now well behind guys like Guido Chris, and obviously he's come up behind Andrew and a funny looking guy as well. So I reckon that Exteron has changed tyres, has probably had to refuel as well, because he's a long way behind. He will have a tyre advantage, but he seems to have a bit of damage on the car as well, which he hasn't fixed, which might affect his performance a little bit. Maybe it will be light damage and isn't going to affect him by too much, maybe a couple of tenths a lap, something like that, but nonetheless it could be the game changer here, as we see Capriglia coming into the pits here at the end of lap 23. So he becomes the next driver to come in. That just leaves 5 drivers: Robe, Totally Zero K, Kangi, Jill Silver, and in fact 4 drivers left to come in to make their pit stops. So everybody's getting their pit stops done pretty much at the halfway mark here. but Robe looks to definitely be staying out, and I reckon it's going to be hot. It's going to a full tank tit here in this race, which would explain why his pace wasn't as dominant in the early stages as what maybe his qualifying pace suggested, because his gap to his gap was only about 3 seconds over Guido Christ when Guido Christ came in, and that was around the halfway mark. So basically you would expect Robe to probably be, you know, about sort of 10 seconds ahead at the when you consider how much quicker he was in qualifying, but he was nowhere near that far ahead. So potentially that could have been his strategy that he was playing, but nonetheless he is currently running in the lead of the race, is Robe, and we're all going to see how this is going to pan out with Guido Christ. Is Guido Christ and his tyre change going to benefit him, or are we going to be seeing Robe get in and out of that pit stop and still make his tyres work all the way to the end without changing them? That's the question that we're going to find out. So here we go, back to the battle for second place. Currently Totally Zero K and Kangi still running very close here, half a second as they're coming through Paddock Hill Bend, but still Kangi can't really put enough pressure on him at the moment. Caprigia has closed up onto the back of Tumbaz as well, only 0.6 of a second between those two up towards Druids. They've got a few seconds back to this man here, Henry, who's had a bit of a nightmare tonight, and at the moment will be losing his chance of taking this championship here, with Robe out the front doing what he has to do. Robe on course to wrap up the Tier 2 championship here for the GT3s with 1 round to spare. And what a result that would be for him. But Kangi's still trying to put the pressure on Totally Zero K right now. 12 of you currently watching the stream here live on the Motive Racing YouTube channel. If you guys are enjoying what you're watching right now, I plead with you to drop a like on the video, as it helps us out more than you know. And if you also want to get involved, go to www.motiveracing.com, subscribe to the channel if you appreciate what these guys are doing right now. If you're enjoying the show that they're putting on, it's Kangi trying to creep closer to the back of Totally Zero K. And we've still got the battle going on. Caprigia is still within a second of Tumbaz, but it looks like Tumbaz has just gapped him a little bit through the final sector. That looks like it's now over a second there between those two. The race leader Robe still got a pit, so have the other podium runners here. So that will probably promote Guido Christ will probably be promoted up into second place. That's where he was running before the pit window, or before anybody had come in. Andrew and a Flanagan guy might be quite close, but they're also going to have fresher tyres as well than Totally Zero K and Kangi. Is that going to play a factor here? We'll have to see. So Totally Zero K is just shaking off the challenge of Kangi a little bit here. It's over a second there between those two. I wonder if the lap car of Kevsim maybe just got involved a bit in that one and possibly caused Kangi to just get a little bit held up there behind him, because he seems to have closed a little bit coming through the final sector there. It's now exactly 1 second, so it's come down 0.3 of a second through that final sector, but Kevsim just seems to have derailed Kangi's charge onto the back of Totally Zero K a little bit. As Kevsim's looking down the inside here of Kangi. Wow! What a move there. Very unexpected. As obviously he is a lap down, but he's entitled to do it if he thinks he's quicker. And Kevsim's just gone and sent one up the inside of Andrew. And Kangi, sorry. And Kangi's not going to be too chuffed with that. I'm absolutely certain. Kangi will be probably cursing that one, but he needs to keep his head because he's in a battle right now for quite a solid position in this race. Blue flag's now being waved for Kevsim after he's just gone and made a move like that up the inside into Druid. So that's the reward. That's the kudos he gets for making a move like that. It's no, let him back past again. But yeah, he's now ahead of him and in between this battle for second place. As Andrew arriving on the back of a funny looking guy, these guys battling it out over 5th and 6th places as they're coming through turn 3. Capriggi is still just about within a second of Tumbaz at the moment as these guys battle it out over 11th place. Oh, it's Totally Zero K's got it all wrong, and Tumbaz taking it through down the inside, coming through the penultimate corner. He squeezes through there, does Tumbaz. So Totally Zero K has lost time here. He's now behind. Wait, hold on. Has there been a collision there between those two, Totally Zero K and Kangi? Because Kangi's not that far ahead of him, and Kangi's now into the pits. So what's gone on there? Well, I don't know what happened there, but Kangi's into the pits nonetheless here at the end of lap 28, and Totally Zero K continuing on his way, but with damage there on the front and the back of the car. He's been unlapped there by the what was the lap car of Tumbaz. He's now got Capriggia there trying to unlap himself as well. So Totally Zero K running into a spot of bother here. Kangi's already got his pit stop done and is now coming back out onto the track. He's going to come out just behind the lap car there. That's the McLaren of Exeron who's just made his way through. So in fact, it's not it's not the McLaren of Exeron. Sorry, it's not the McLaren of Exeron. It's actually it's Guido Christ, who's on the same lap as him, but Guido Christ has got it wrong coming out of Paddock Hill Bend onto the gravel. And he's has he lost out here? No, he hasn't. He's still ahead of a funny looking guy, but he's lost out to some of the back markers there, and Guido Christ losing a bit of time. And Kangi now come out in a very, very solid 3rd place. He's well ahead of Guido Christ, with Guido Christ making that mistake coming on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. He's now nearly 3 seconds clear of him. Oh, and a funny looking guy's got a drive-through penalty. Oh, what a shame for him. We're on lap 30 of the race. He's picked up a drive-through penalty for, I assume, track limits there. Running a bit wide coming out of turn 3. He's getting onto the grass there. Getting a bit frustrated, probably, with that one. Oh, and after he's running in such a good points position. But it's the story of a fun-looking guy's season this season. It really is. He has these moments where he seems to be really getting into it. He's got pace and he's got the potential to fight for podiums. But these little mistakes are just costing him so many points this season. And you've really got to feel for him. You really, really have. As we see him coming into the final corner right now. So he needs to come in. But he's staying out for the time being. So he's obviously going to try and leave it as long as he possibly can here. But that is such a shame there for him. As Guido Christ is closing the gap to Kangi a little bit. Obviously, Kangi hasn't changed tyres. Guido Christ has, so Guido Christ will have better pace. Should be able to pull up onto the back of him and probably dispatch him quite easily, I would have imagined. Guido Christ has also just put a lap there on Aerocode, who's just behind him there. You can see Aerocode, the number 22 Audi, just behind him. But yeah, Guido Christ won't be looking to waste too much time behind Kangi when he gets onto the back of him, because these guys technically on different strategies here. Has Guido Christ got a chance of beating Robe to the race win here tonight? That's one that could be answered quite soon. Robe coming under the bridge, so he's about 45-50 seconds into the lap, and Guido Christ is coming towards the end of the lap, so he's only about 20 seconds ahead of him actually on the track. So in the pit lane at Brands Hatch is not very long at all, so I think that Robe is going to come out quite a long way ahead of Guido Christ. The one advantage that Guido Christ is going to have is fresher tyres. That could pay dividends, but considering that at this stage Robe is probably going to come out about 25-30 seconds ahead of him, and considering the fact that we've probably only got 12 laps at best left in this race, I think that Guido Christ will fall short regardless of what he's able to do. in the final few laps of this race. He's also going to negotiate Kangi first, and Kangi's not going to let him pass because they are battling for position. But I think there's something of an inevitability over the fact that Gidochrist will be coming through at some point. But it's just when can he force Kangi into that mistake, which is going to allow him to come through. That's down the back straight we come. And Gidochrist just needs to play this one cool here. But is he going to be able to, knowing that his technical rival for the race win is continuing to extend his gap out the front and still yet to pit, obviously, so kind of holding him in limbo here, keeping him guessing, keeping him on his toes. As Jill Silver in just almost within a second here of spur time, as they're running 8th and 9th places at the moment. Capriglia is on the back of Tumbaz as well. Tumbaz running in a sandwich here between Capriglia, and I think that's Totally Zero K there who's in front of them. But Totally Zero K is obviously a lap ahead of them, but struggling at this stage in the race. Hasn't really had the best run over the last few laps, it has to be said. And these two, Tumbaz and Capriglia, still running quite close. Funny looking guy's coming into the pits to make his drive-through penalty, so he's obviously serving that which he got for track limits a couple of laps ago, and he's now on his way out of the pits, so he's now back out onto the track by the looks of it. So he served that penalty at the end of lap 31 for him. Robe's just coming up towards Druid here on what is lap 33 for our race leader. So we see here Gidochrist and Kangi coming out of the last corner. Gidochrist has gapped Kangi actually by quite a bit now, so he's up into 3rd place. He's now into that position that he needs, into some clean air. But what's the gap between Robe and Gidochrist? Gidochrist going into turn 2 right now. Robe's just coming out of the last corner. I reckon, give or take, there's about a minute. I reckon there's about 60 seconds between Robe and Gidochrist in terms of where they are on the actual timing board. So I reckon Robe probably is going to be about 40 seconds in the pits, maybe 35, 40 seconds. So as it stands, we'll probably come out about 20 seconds ahead of Gidochrist. And now obviously we're going to have about, I reckon, 9 or 10 laps in this race, I reckon, are still to go. So Gidochrist would have to lap around 2 and a bit seconds a lap quicker on those fresher tyres than Robe can. I don't think he's going to be able to do that. I reckon a second and a half might be possible. I reckon 2 seconds, probably a little bit beyond what's possible. So I think Robe will probably hold on for all this race win, but Gidochrist is going to give it everything he's got. I'm sure about that. He's now pulled out nearly 2 seconds here to Kangi, so Gidochrist has got a shot at this win, but I think that Robe should be able to see this one out here, unless his tyres really hit the cliff in the final part of this race. But he's showing no signs of coming into the pits just yet. He's continuing to stick with it and boss this out as he's coming down towards the final corner once again. And he's staying out there for now, I think. Yeah, just keeping out onto the track for the time being. Capriglia and Tumbaz still continuing their battle here for 10th and 11th places. Diego's also close on the back of Lexi, mate, so we're going to keep half an eye on that whilst that's going on, as these guys coming down the back straight. But Capriglia trying to get something done here with Tumbaz. Just sat there patiently waiting like a silent assassin here is Capriglia. He's been pressuring him for a few laps, but no mistakes really presenting themselves. Tumbaz has just been doing what he needs to do, holding firm. Diego within half a second now of Lexi, mate, as well, as they're coming through the middle part of the lap. Kev Sims pulled right up onto the back of Jill Silver in here. Is he going to look to make a move in towards Druids? He's going to look to the inside. Surely this is going to be dropped down there for Kev Sim. He sends it down the inside. Jill Silver goes wide onto the marbles, and Kev Sim moves himself through up into 8th place. Easy pickings there for Kev Sim there on Jill Silver. Caprigi is on the back of Tumbaz as they're coming up towards Druids, but nothing doing. Has to tuck in for the time being. Diego's got a bit of a run here on Leximate coming into Paddock Hill Bend, but Leximate's got that one held onto at the moment. Kev Sim should now be able to pull away here from Jill Silver, and he's got 6 seconds up the road to spur time. Can he pick up another position here and get himself into P7 before we get to the end of this race? As we see, a funny looking guy is sat in the pits and he doesn't look like he's moving, so that might be his race over potentially, and what a shame that would be. Obviously he was running in a good points position in the early stages, but it's all gone absolutely horrifically wrong for him. So Diego's got a bit of a run here on Leximate coming down towards turn 1. Leximate defending the inside. Nothing that Diego can do. Can't really get it around him there. So come down the hill into the dip and up the hill towards Druids again. Leximate ever so wide there. Diego can't send it up the inside. He's too far back coming into Druids. Has to rethink again what he's doing. Leximate got a decent enough exit there out of turn 3, so we'll have it held on to coming into 4, and still parks his car in the right places there. 10 of you currently watching the stream, smash the like button guys if you're enjoying what you're watching right now. Also subscribe if you haven't already to the Motive Racing YouTube channel. If you want to get involved, be sure to go to www.motiveracing.com. There's Leximate defending the inside there on Diego in towards the end of the back straight. Keeps that onto just about by the skin of his teeth. Diego looking to the inside, coming into the right hander. Oh, it's going to be close here. He's going to poke his nose there, and Leximate just managing to keep ahead. Really had to put trust in Diego there as he just sort of cut him off, but managed to do so cleanly and fairly. Diego might be getting a bit frustrated now. He's got wide. He's gone really wide there as that's Guido Christ who's just putting a lap on him as Guido Christ gets it wide there onto the grass. And he'll be wanting to hope that he can negotiate Leximate without any dramas here. As I said before, he's got a chance of winning this race with Robe still to pit. Obviously, Totally Zero K will be pitting as well, but Guido Christ will definitely come out ahead of Totally Zero K. But whether or not he comes out ahead of Robe remains to be seen. But Guido Christ is definitely lapping quicker than Robe at the moment, but I don't think he's lapping quickly enough to be able to get him by the time we get to the end of this race. Guido Christ has now managed to put a lap on that traffic as he goes a bit wide there coming out of turn 3. He's got more traffic just up ahead of him, which he'll have to deal with. That's Henry just coming through, coming down the back straight. Also Day, I think, is just behind him, so Henry and Day will be next up here for Guido Christ, but he'll be hoping that he can negotiate them without any issues here. Robe's still got a pit. When does he do it? He's got traffic as well up ahead of him. So still all to play for here tonight. Robe continuing to lead. He's got a bit of traffic here just up ahead of him, but I think his gap to Gidachrist is still around a minute here, so I think that barring any incidents for Robe, I think that he'll have enough of a gap here ahead of Gidachrist when he eventually comes in and does his pit stop. I think he's going to leave it until the very last lap. By the looks of it, it's going to be a last lap affair here for Robe when he actually comes in. Error code still on the back of Diego Day. As Diego's got a drive through. Oh no! Diego's got a drive through penalty. I assume that's for track limits. As he's just got error code here, trying to make a move on him, but he's going to cover him. No, he's not. In fact, no. He's coming into the pit series, Diego, so he's getting his drive through done straight away here. And Robe's staying out, so he's not coming in. So he's got 2 more chances to make his pit stop. But he's got a big enough lead over Gidachrist right now. He should be able to come out in the lead and manage to bring it home on those worn tyres. Gidachrist has got Henry just up ahead of him, so he'll be hoping that Henry doesn't hold him up. Caprigia still on the back of Tumbaz. These two have been running in pretty much unison for the last few laps, but no changes really. Caprigia's been keeping him on his toes, keeping on the back of him, but nothing really. No big opportunities or mistakes from Tumbaz. It's just been these two running together, one after the other. Totally 0k into the pits here at the end of lap 39. So where is he going to come out actually? This could really shake up the podium finishing order here. So Totally 0k now stopping in the box. As there he is. It's going to be a stop and go here for him. He's not going to be wasting any time at all. So there he goes. Off and away there for Totally 0k. No dramas. Back out onto the track once again. Well, where has he come out though? He's come out in 5th place, so that's solid there for Totally 0k. He's about 5 seconds behind Andrew, but he's well ahead of Exeron, who's running in P6, so that's a solid result for him. So that pushes Kangi onto the podium. Gidachrist now running in P2, but the gap between Robe and Gidachrist, we don't know what it is, because they're never actually in the same sector at the same time. And until Robe comes into the pits, that won't be the case. So we won't know the situation until basically Robe's come into the pits. Robe's coming under the bridge now. I know that this is about the 45-second mark on the lap. Gidachrist is coming around into the final few corners. So I reckon the gap is still about a minute between these two. Possibly just over. And again, it's a tricky pit lane exit here, or in entry should I say. Oh, and Day's got done for speeding in the pit lane. He gets a drive-through penalty, so not a stop-go. So it must have been a very, very small infringement in terms of the speeding, but he's got to come in and do a drive-through penalty here. What was he doing in the pits anyway, to be fair, because he'd already done his pit stop. Maybe he had damage, but Day's going to have to come in again, or he'll get 130 seconds worth of penalties. As we can see, Robe now coming into the pits here at the end of lap 41, as he now stops in the box, and it will be a simple get up and go here for him. He's going to come out well ahead of Gidachrist, who's running in 2nd place. He's now coming, he's only halfway around the lap. Oh, Robe's going to come out. Where was the debate? Where was the tension? There was none. There was no doubt. Robe's coming out of the pits, and Gidachrist is only just coming into the final sector. So Robe here is going to take a very convincing and dominant victory at Brands Hatch tonight. Gidachrist coming into the final 2 corners of the lap now, and Robe's just going into turn 2. So a very, very convincing win tonight from Robe. As long as he can bring it around his final lap, that should be job done. That should be in the bag there for him. So Gidachrist starts the final lap. And here comes your race leader, who's got half a lap left to go here at Brands Hatch tonight for round 7 of the GT3 Championship here, Tier 2 at Motive, penultimate round of the season. Robe came into tonight with a big lead in the championship. We knew he had the chance to wrap it up. 36 points he had over this man here, Henry, coming into tonight. And being in the lead of the race, we knew that Henry would have to come in P2 to keep the championship going until next week at Kyalami. But Henry not being able to do that, it means that Robe is going to be the champion of Tier 2 for Season 3. And what a job that's going to be for him as he's coming into the penultimate corner. He's just got this final right-hander to go as Robe, and it's going to be the victory, and it's going to be the championship as well, as here he comes. And a massive congratulations to our man in the number 75 McLaren. Comments on our streams regularly. Robert Ruralonsky is going to take the championship here for Tier 2 at Motive in the GT3s here on ACC. Congratulations to him. A flash to lights as he comes over. Well done. What a season from you, Robe. You've been absolutely fantastic. Taking, I think, his 3rd win of the season there as well. So he has been the force to be reckoned with this season, that is for sure. Guido Christ is coming out of the final corner. But a dominant win there from Robe, a huge margin of over 20 seconds, I think. Guido Christ comes over the line, 25 seconds the gap in the end, so a very convincing margin indeed there. Kangi's going to come out to complete the podium in 3rd place. That's a very solid result indeed there from him, and that might help him in his chase to get into the top 6 and get a promotion spot into Tier 1. Andrew comes over to take 4th place in the end. Totally okay coming out of the last corner. Was running in 2nd for a while before we had to come in and make his mandatory stop. He comes over to take P5. Kev Sim, Jill Silverine, Tumbaz, Caprigia, Henry, Leximate, Eric Code and Day have all finished the race. A lap or 2 down. Exeron's just coming out of the final corner and will take home P6 here in this race here tonight. Good result there for him. Spur time. Coming through the final corner, will take 7th place here. In fact, he's pitting, so he's going to finish the race in the pits. Is he going to cross over the line before he gets to his garage? I don't think he is. So what's he doing that for? I'm a bit confused, because he hasn't hit the checkered flag, so Spur Time is not going to finish the race. That is really bizarre there for Spur Time. So he's not going to finish the race. He has not hit the checkered flag. Spur Time, if you're watching the race, if you're watching the stream, you haven't crossed the line. I'm not sure if he realises. But nonetheless, that's going to be that then for tonight. For the Tier 2s. Robe there taking the win ahead of Guido Christ and Kangi completing the podium. We're just going to wait for the final leaderboard to pop up on the screen. The thing is, Spur Time hasn't crossed the line, and that means that we're not going to get the leaderboard. Until everybody's crossed the line, we're not going to get the leaderboard, so yeah, that's a little bit of a frustrating situation right now, because he hasn't crossed the line, he hasn't taken the checkered flag. There we go, there's the leaderboard. Right, that's what we needed. Spur Time takes P7 anyway, because he was the last driver on the lead lap, so it doesn't really matter. But that is the leaderboard, that's the classification, that is the Tier 2 race at Brands Hatch for round 7 here at Motive. Guys, we'll be back in a minute, literally. Well, we'll be back in about 5 minutes actually, because we'll be showing the end of practice, but the comms will be back in about 5 minutes for Tier 1. So yeah, don't go anywhere, we'll be back very, very shortly indeed. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for the Tier 1s here for the GT3 Championship at Motive on ACC on PlayStation 5. Round 7 of 8, penultimate round of the season here. And we have got an opportunity for maybe 2 champions to be crowned in one night. We've just crowned Robe the champion of Tier 2 a few moments ago, wrapped it up. We knew that if he won the race, then his championship, his closest rival, Henry, would have to finish in second place. But obviously he wasn't able to do that. Down in P12 tonight was Henry, didn't have a great night, and as such, Robe is the Tier 2 champion. So a big congratulations to Robe on wrapping it up. And this man here who we're watching right now, Jazzman, could also be about to do the same. So what a night it could be for South Africa here at Motive. 2 South African drivers, both top of their respective tiers. Could Jazzman be about to make it a double for them tonight? It's a shame really that they're doing it tonight and not next week, because next week is at Kyle Army. That would be very apt indeed if they were to both do it there. But nonetheless, Jazzman could be about to take his fifth Motive Racing title. This will be his second in the PlayStation 5 GT3 Championship. He's won the PlayStation 4 GT3 League twice, and he also won the PlayStation 4 GT3 Sprint Cup as well once. He's won this PlayStation 5 GT3 Championship once before. He's currently a 4-time champion at Motive. Could he become a 5-time champion here tonight? What a job that'll be if he can do that. He currently stands on the verge with a 72-point lead in the championship over his closest challenger. And his closest challenger coming into tonight is Tynus in the house, who sits on, well, 72 points behind him basically. Jazzman is on 266. Tynus in the house sits in second on 194, and then he's a little way clear of F1 Max Power, who's on 170. It doesn't look like Max Power's here tonight actually, so I don't know whether he's planning on showing up, but if not, obviously he'll score nil power for tonight. We got Tom Quarantine in 4th in the standings, has been very consistent. Could maybe, oh sorry, no, Lucas is 4th in the standings. Sorry, reading the wrong line there. Lucas sits in 4th in the standings on 162 points, but Lucas not here tonight either, so actually Lucas missing. Tom Quarantine therefore could be in with a great chance of taking 3rd in the championship for this season. MVGT also not here tonight as well, so we've been missing him for a little while. Caterpillar not here either, so really a load of drivers around Tom and not here, so it could be a huge opportunity for him to nab a bronze medal in this season. What a job it would be for Tom Quarantine, just through sheer consistency this season. That'd be absolutely fantastic if he's able to deliver that. Ludo sits in 8th in the standings. He's the closest challenger behind Tom, and he's on 145. He's actually only 13 points behind Tom in the championship, is Ludo. So I wonder what's going to go on between those two in the rest of this season. Epiphany sits in 9th in the standings on 139 points, only 1 point clear of Matev, who is in 10th on 138. So that's quite a close battle between those guys in terms of the overall championship picture. But as I said before, we are missing a few of the drivers tonight, unfortunately. Max Power not here, Luca's not here either, and MVGT, Caterpillar, lots of drivers not able to make this week, so it's always a shame when you're missing a few drivers. I know some people did say they couldn't make it. Caterpillar and Max Power both said they couldn't make tonight. Haven't heard anything actually from Luca so far, so I don't know what the situation is with him, but yeah, hopefully we'll be seeing a couple of people jumping in before the end of this session, because it'd be a shame to only have 19 cars out on the grid. Obviously we had 22 for the Tier 2s earlier on, so we had 22 drivers in Tier 2, 19 currently out on track here for Tier 1, so that's 41 drivers across both tiers, which is again an excellent turnout. In 6 of the 7 rounds so far this season, we've had over 40 drivers turn up across both tiers, so really the turnouts this season, they've been absolutely superb. The record is still 51, which was the first round at Monza, but you can always expect that the first round will have the best turnouts. Over a season there'll always be a little bit of a drop off, but again I'm still happy. We're in the penultimate round of the season, and we're still getting 40 people turn up across both tiers, so you know I've got to sort of take that and be quite happy with it. Obviously guys, we will be releasing the sign up forms for next season as well over the course of this week. We'll be including the possibility of a Tier 3 for next season, but again, we'll just have to play it by ear and just see how it goes, because I'm sure we'll need 2 tiers. That's for definite. But whether or not a third will be required, we'll have to see what happens in terms of the numbers that we get on the sign-ups. But yeah, keep an eye out, because that will be coming out in the next week. But currently we've got Jazzman top of the leaderboard here, just under 0.2 of a second now clear of Titan Guto on provisional pole position. So this man could become a 5-time champion here at Motive tonight on ACC, and a 2-time champion of this PS5 GT3 championship as well. Titan Guto within 0.2 of a second of him. Obviously the man who got an early promotion up into Tier 1 this season, was dominating in the first 2 rounds of the season in Tier 2, and got that early sort of leg up to the big league, and has really done a good job since he managed to get up into this league. Titus in the house is running in 3rd place. He was the race winner last week at Suzuka, as he runs wide there out of turn 1 onto the gravel, and he'll probably be coming back into the pits in a moment. But yeah, Titus in the house took the win last week at Suzuka with a fantastic drive in terms of the strategy. Managed to make his tyres last the entire race, was very conservative on them, and just managed to keep them going all the way to the end. So it was a fantastic job from him. Our Lamper currently sat in 4th at the moment in this session. 0.6 off for the provisional pole time being set by Jazzman. Ludo sat in 5th. He's just a 10th clear of PS Fids, who's currently P6. Mary Louise in 7th at the moment on this leaderboard, with Epiphany in 8th. You've got Matev in 9th place. Karmasar sat in 10th. Then you've got Lol 3000 in P11, followed by Tom Quarantine in 12th place. High Grade in 13th, as he just moves up to P10 there, so he gains 0.3 of a second, as he now gets pushed down a place there by Nico Barani. So Nico moves himself up into P10. So you've got Tom in 14th, Spuzz currently P15 on this leaderboard, with Brando P16 as he's coming up towards the line. Can he improve? He improves, but not by enough to change his position, so he stays in P16. Glenn sat 17th on this leaderboard, and Yellow Army and Scooter Red Paul still yet to do lap times in this qualifying session, but we're only halfway through, so still plenty of time. But we've got a few comments coming in here on the YouTube stream in between sessions there. Glenn congratulating Robe on taking the title, also saying well done Spur Time, good race. Moved the car Spur Time, he says, obviously because Spur Time didn't cross the line at the end. GG says totally are okay. Zillabang says good luck in your race, Glenn. Spur Time saying thanks Glenn, good luck in your race as well to him. So Glenn there saying cheers Zillabang and Spur Time, Sunday evening drive I feel it be. So Glenn just hoping to bring it home and get the points on the board, I imagine, tonight, as he's currently 17th in this qualifying session right now. Totally Zero K says, is everyone getting the flu? Because I feel the same too. I had it last Sunday. I was struggling last Sunday to even speak. I was coughing every sentence. I was literally having to stop and gasp for air every sort of minute. But now I'm okay. I'm absolutely fine now. I'm back to normal. I'm ready to roll. But Zillabang there saying, I certainly did P14. Hate brands, can't get the rhythm. Robert Warolonsky saying, great race in Tier 2, enjoyed it. Well, I'm sure you did, Robe, because you are the Tier 2 champion from this season. You've driven absolutely fantastically this season. Congratulations to you on managing to do that. Good to see you chiming in on the stream, as always, watching the guys who you will be racing with next season. That was always a given, to be fair. It's been a given since the midpoint in the season that you were going to get promoted. But obviously, being the champion as well, that is the icing on the cake for you. And you'll be battling it out amongst these guys if you choose to stay on next season, that is. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that you're planning on signing up, but I can't assume these things. You know, these things shouldn't be taken for granted. But I dearly hope that you are. As Jazzman just seemed to have disconnected briefly there, so that's a bit worrying. He'll be hoping that doesn't happen again. He's back in a session now, and he obviously his time gets reinstated that he did before he disconnected. But he'll be hoping that doesn't happen during the race. I suppose it's a good time for it to happen now rather than in the race. But yeah, that could have been very, very grave consequences indeed there for him. Maybe he's just resetting his connection before we start, just to be a bit cautious. But Tinus in the house nonetheless is 0.2 of a second off for the provisional pole time. Can he improve here as we're coming towards the business end of this qualifying session? Can't improve at the moment, stays in P3 for the time being. Titan Guto is going through Druids at the moment, so he will be finishing a lap in about a minute's time. Our Lampa's out there, so is Ludo. PS Vids is going through the middle sector. We've got Mary Louise, who's just backing off of it, coming through in towards the final corner. So he's obviously trying to get some space so he can go for a proper run here at potentially getting himself maybe on the front 2 rows here for the start of this race. Brando's moved up into P16 with that last lap, so he's now within 3 seconds of Jazzman's pole time. But 4 minutes to go here in this qualifying session tonight at Motive for the GT3 Championship here on Assetto Corsa Competizione on the PlayStation 5. They're all out on the track, barring Carmesar, who's now just coming out onto the track now. So every single driver is out on track for the final few minutes of this qualifying session. So we can see a McLaren just going into turn 1 there, which was no, it was a Porsche. No, it wasn't a Porsche. It wasn't. It was a McLaren, but I can't work out who it was. But nonetheless, we've got Titan Guto coming into the final corner. He's just ahead of Tinus in the house, who's coming in towards the final corner. But here is Titan Guto up towards the line. Can he improve? He's currently P2. Can he go on pole here? He does go on pole by 0.04 of a second. So Titan Guto there with a great lap. And Tinus has just gone and beaten it. So Titan Guto and Tinus in the house pushing Jazzman down to 3rd place. Tinus now on provisional pole here for round 7 of this season. Last week's race winner at Suzuka puts it on the top spot. Great job from him. Superb lap there from Tinus in the house. As Totally Zero K liking that in the comments. He goes nice. And yeah, Tinus in the house now, your new man to beat. But Jazzman's going to be absolutely seething with that. He's going to be out there with a vengeance here in the final few minutes of this session. But the thing about Jazzman is that if he's not on pole, or he's not got the qualifying speed, he's a racer. And the thing about Jazzman is that he's on pole so often, you'd think that qualifying is his speciality, but it's not. He's better in the races than he is in qualifying. So if he's on pole, he usually is a lot quicker than everyone else in the race. But if he's not on pole, he can still dominate races when he's not on pole. I remember Barcelona being a great example of this, when Titan Guto beat him to pole, but Jazzman still ended up winning the race in dominant fashion as well. So he's a man who you can never count out, even if he hasn't got the qualifying pace. But I imagine that Jazzman's probably going to be full tanking it if he's not on pole position tonight. That's usually the way that he goes about it. But nonetheless, he's coming through the final few corners now. Let's see if he can find 2/10. Is he on a flying lap this time? I'm not sure. He might actually only be on an out lap this time. We'll find out in a moment, I guess, or maybe not, because it might not be the fastest time, in which case we'll never know. But Jazzman here coming up towards the line, and is this going to be pole for him? No, it's not. So he's still in 3rd place, but he's just starting a flying lap now, so we'll have to keep an eye on him, see what he's able to do. We've got Pete in the comments here saying good evening everyone. Glenn Supporters Club in attendance. Let's go Glenn. Obviously the 888 there for Pete, and Glenn likewise. So these guys, they are the 888s, they are the 888 Casino. No they're not, but they are the 888 Club, and he's obviously getting behind his man who's currently 18th in this qualifying session right now is Glenn. But if he can be consistent, he'll be able to pick up some good points tonight, that's for sure. Ludo's somebody moved up the order. Oh, PS Vids went up into P6, so PS Vids has moved up a little bit on that leaderboard there. Jazzman's coming towards the end of the back straight. He's currently 2/10 off for the pole time. Tinus in the house is in the pits, so he's not going to improve in there. Titan Guto's coming out at the penultimate corner. He goes a bit wide onto the grass as he now comes down towards the final corner here. What can Titan Guto put on the board? He's just got to come around this final stretch and out onto the start-finish straight here. Titan Guto's currently 2/10 off of the pole time. What can he put on the board here? He can't improve, so he stays in P2, and he's putting over as well. So he's done now for the session. So it's realistically just this man here, our 4-time champion, could become a 5-time champion here at Motive tonight. He's coming up towards the line. Is it going to be pole position for Jazzman? He comes over, and it's not. He misses out by 0.05 of a second. So Tinus in the house still sits on top spot here. Tinus holding on at that on that provisional pole position. Jazzman's going to have this lap. This is his final run here in this session. Ludo's moved up into P5 ahead of PS Vid, so in fact he was already there actually, so that hasn't changed at all. So we already knew about that one. But can Jazzman find 0.05 of a second here on this final run here in qualifying for round 7, the penultimate race of the season here tonight? As Totally Zero K saying he's cheering for Epiphany here tonight, driving in the McLaren. I think Totally Zero K usually supports drivers that are driving the same car as him. But here we come anyway. Jazzman has got half a lap left to go. Our 4-time champion here at Motive. He's the former champion of this PS5 GT3 League. He had a bit of a wobble there coming through that banked right-hander. Did that unsettle him a little bit. He seems to cut the corner there. He's gone wide, and I think that's going to put pay to his chances of improving his lap here. I don't think Jazzman's on a purple lap here at all. as he's got just a final corner to go. Pete says, hope you're feeling better this week, mate. Oh, I definitely am, mate. Absolutely, 100%. I feel great this week. I felt awful last week. Jazzman up towards the line. Can he improve and put it on pole in the dying embers? No, he can't. He misses out by 200ths of a second. So that little slide onto the grass may have cost him. Jazzman is going to have to settle for second place. Tynus in the house will be your pole sitter for round 7 here at Brands Hatch. Jazzman will line up alongside him on the front row with Titan Guto in third. Ludo will line up alongside Titan Guto on the second row with Arlampa and PS Fitz on the third row. Mary Louise and Karmasar in 7th and 8th places ahead of Matev and Tom Quarantine in 9th and 10th. Epiphany and Nicola Barani in 11th and 12th. High Grade and Lol 3000 in 13th and 14th places with Spuzz and Brando in 15th and 16th. Yellow Army and Scooter Red Paul in 17th and 18th places. Scooter Red Paul managed to get in the time there to put him above Glenn at the end of the session there. Glenn starting at the back in P19, but it's going to be about keeping yourself out of trouble and picking up some points here tonight. And consistency is going to be key to this one. But Tynus and Jazzman on the front row. How many times have we said that? How many times have we said it the other way round? Tynus pipping his old rival there to pole by 200ths of a second. He won the race last week. Can he do the same this time out? And we're going to find out in a few moments' time what the situation is between these two in terms of their strategies, in terms of their pace, and just overall what the plan's going to be. But 13 of you currently watching the stream, smash the like button, guys, if you're enjoying what you're watching here tonight. If you enjoyed the Tier 2 race earlier on, and if you're enjoying what you're watching here for the Tier 1s, please do subscribe to the Motive Racing channel. It does help us out an enormous amount. And yeah, if you're watching for the first time, be sure to go to www.motiveracing.com as well. If you're on Discord, join the Discord server, and you can join our races on ACC. We've got a new season starting up for the GT3 soon. Also hoping to get a Porsche Super Cup and GT3 Sprint Cup live for next season as well. So that will be coming out obviously in the next week. We'll be getting that out. And also the Project Cars 2 leagues will be starting up again next season. F1's currently a long season. We do a full season for that one. And there are actually some spaces, funnily enough, so because we have had a bit of a collapse of the F1 league in recent times. So if people play like the F1 game, obviously a lot of people play sim racing games because they're F1 fans, but I know the F1 games come under a lot of flack because it's not a proper sim. But this season it really has taken massive steps. So if anybody's an F1 fan who plays ACC, honestly I would recommend trying the F1 league. There's a lot of guys who have been playing that game for many seasons now, so that, it will take a few races to get up to speed, but I definitely recommend, if you are an F1 fan, you do enjoy it, then definitely check that out. It's worth getting involved with, trust me. But here we are anyway. We're just moments away from the start of this little short formation, which will go round the final corner and then up towards the line. Once we cross the line, we'll be officially green here for round 7 of the GT3 Championship here at Motive for Tier 1. Tynus in the house there, lining up at the front of the grid with Jazzman alongside him. Can Jazzman get the jump? Obviously Jazzman only needs a 5th place here tonight to wrap up his 5th title at Motive, his 2nd in the GT3 PS5 league. As here we come around the final corner. It's going to be interesting to see who can get the better start. Tynus will be giving it everything to try and keep onto his pole position, which he earned by 200ths of a second. The narrowest of margins there between these two great rivals. Haven't really had the championship battle that I think we'd all hoped to see this season, just down to the fact that Tynus had a couple of disconnections and wasn't able to make a race or two. But here we go. It looks like we're underway. Green down towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, and it looks as though Tynus has got a good start. Jazzman tucks in there as they come through the corner. You've got Titan Guto there just behind them, who's not really got a run on any of them right now, as we've got a bit of a crash coming through the background. Somebody's had a bit of a knock there coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. Not quite sure who it is at the moment, but we can see there that Ludo's gone a bit wide. Might lose out here to Mary Louise, actually. Mary Louise going around the outside of Ludo, so Ludo's lost a few places here in the first few corners. Not a great start for him, so he's behind Arlampa and obviously Mary Louise as well. I think that yeah, that's just those two that he's fallen behind. But Tynus leads ahead of Jazzman, Titan Guto there in 3rd ahead of Arlampa, followed by Mary Louise. You've got Ludo there running in 6th place ahead of Matev, who's running just ahead of PS Fitz. PS Fitz has lost a couple of places here off at the start. You've got Karmasar ahead of Nico, followed by Epiphany in high grade. Spuzz in 13th ahead of Tom Quarantine. Lol 3000 just behind him as he's looking to the inside towards the end of the back straight. You've got Yellow Army ahead of Brando, followed by Glenn, and Scooter Paul at the back of the pack right now here in his first lap for the Tier 1s. But Tynus in the house, keeping ahead of Jazzman. These guys now are second clear of Titan Guto, who's just dropped a little bit off the back of him over the course of the first lap. He's got Arlampa really pressuring him here. Ludo's right on the back of Mary Louise as they're coming through the penultimate corner. You've got Matev, who's managed to get ahead of PS Fids by the looks of it. So Matev here is up into 7th, I believe. PS Fidge is on the back of him right now, but you can see these guys coming through the final corner as Jazzman is still within 0.3 of a second of Tynus at the moment as they're coming over the line to complete lap 1. There is Titan and Arlampa. There's Mary Louise ahead of Ludo. PS Fitz is behind Matev and is now having to defend here. Karmasar's looking around the outside of PS Fitz into Paddock Bend. PS Fitz has got the inside covered, but Karmasar's going to go all the way around the long way. PS Fitz just keeps it ahead there as they come into Druids. In the background there, you've got a move being shaped up there. Epiphany looking all over the back of Spuzz into Druids, but nothing doing at the moment, and it's as you were between those guys. But Tynus and Jazzman still separated by 0.3 of a second right now as they're coming out of turn 4 for the second time in this race. They're a couple of seconds clear of Titan Guto, who's got Arlampa. He's got a bit of a run on him here coming down the back straight. Here goes Arlampa looking to the outside. Is he going to be able to get this move done around the outside of turn 5? He's going to look, but Titan Guto's just got that covered off and keeps him behind him for the time being. There's Mary Louise and Ludo there running in the background, as you can see Ludo looking up the inside there of Mary Louise. And he's going to make that move. I think he's going to have that one done relatively easy there. So Ludo there moving through up into P5. But yeah, interesting first couple of laps through this race. We've seen Jazzman there doing the fastest lap of the race on the, first lap, so that's no surprise. But obviously he's on the back of Titans in the house. These guys have gapped Titan Guto by over 3 seconds, so they've got a huge gap to these guys battling behind them. Mary Louise has got a lot of pressure here behind him as Matev goes a bit deep, and PS Fitz is going to say thank you very much and moves himself through up into 7th place there. So PS Fitz up position. Matev throwing a little dummy to the inside into Paddock Bend, but he's not really going to go for that one in a month of Sundays. Spuzz there, a bit of a slide coming through Paddock Hill, gets onto the grass in a bit. Oh, as High Grade gets it all wrong, goes very wide indeed. Is just going to keep ahead of Epiphany in towards Druids as you've got Lol 3000 on the back of Tom Quarantine trying to pressure him a little bit here as they come through on the exit of Druids, but the gap at the front still 0.4 between Tynus and Jazzman. These two locking horns here in the first couple of laps of this race. Titan Guto still just ahead of Arlampa, half a second between those two. They've gapped Ludo a little bit. Ludo's got a second back to Mary Louise, who's got pressure from PS Fitz. PS Fitz trying to make progress here in this race after obviously dropping behind a little bit at the start. Was down in 9th place in the first lap, so he's got himself up the order pretty nicely here and is now making moves. Seems to be pretty strong around Brands Hatch here tonight. You got Matev has got pressure from Karmasar and Nico Barani as well, so those guys hot on his heels. They've got almost a second back to Spuzz. High Grade Epiphany. There's Tom Quarantine ahead of Log 3000. Yellow Army there running in the background. There's Brando running in 17th place. Bit of a gap back to Glenn, who's running in 18th, and then Scuderia Paul running 2 seconds behind him in 19th place right now. But here are the two leaders. Jazzman is absolutely hassling the back of Tynus here as they're coming out off the last corner. Over the line we come here to complete lap 2, and Jazzman's looking up the inside into Paddock Hill Bend, but is not going to make that move, and Tynus in the house covers him off. Obviously it's not an easy track to overtake. It's Brands Hatch, we know that, and Jazzman's really going to have to work the space if he wants to get this lead. These guys not really pulling away from Titan Guto anymore. That gap's staying at 3 seconds. Titan Guto's got a gap of a second to Arlampa. Ludo a little bit behind. You've got PS Fitz, Mary Louise, Matev, Karmasar, Nico Barani and Spuzz all in a train of cars. High Grade's on the back of them as well, as we saw High Grade going a bit deep there coming through Druids. Epiphany, Tom and Lol 3000 still battling for 13th, 14th and 15th places right now. But Mary Louise still trying to get onto the back of PS Fitz. You've got Matev there, who is almost underneath Mary Louise at the moment as well. 0.3 still separating the top two as they continue to duel it out. But Titan Guto's not losing any more time to them at the moment. So it looks like Titan Guto's now got himself in the right working range. And Arlampa, to be fair, is keeping up with Titan Guto as well. So can these two keep the front two on their toes here in this race? As we've got JR in the comments there saying, come on Jazz. Jazz currently trying to put the pressure on Tynus, but Tynus is holding firm at the moment. Teammate versus teammate, says Totally Zero K. Max not here. No, Max Power's not here tonight. I don't know actually why, to be fair. But I think he did say he couldn't make it on SLP, so he did inform us he wouldn't be here. But nonetheless, we've got Jazzman looking to the outside of Tynus into turn 1, but Tynus once again covers the inside off again. As Ludo's gapped PS Fitz by 2 seconds. PS Fitz pulling away from Mary Louise and Matev. And there's Nico ahead of Karmasar, ahead of Spuzz. There's High Grade ahead of Epiphany, and Tom Quarantine and LOL 3000 going through turn 1. There you've got Yellow Army running in 16th ahead of Brando. As there's Glenn, and there is Scuderia Paul running in 19th place. There's the gap between Tynus and Jazzman, still 2-3 tenths of a second. Jazzman's got a bit of a run coming down the back straight. Is he going to tuck back in for the slipstream to try and get a bit more of a run? He's got himself alongside here as Jazzman looking to the outside down the end of the back straight. Tynus in the house once again just covers that door. Doesn't allow the gap to form, doesn't allow Jazzman to go for that cutback. Jazzman though is looking, he is probing, he is pushing for every possible inch he can get here. Titan Guto is well ahead of Arlampa. Arlampa's made a mistake. He's now only 3 seconds adrift of Titan Guto, and it's got Ludo and PS Vids reeling him in. But Titan Guto is starting to bring the gap down to these front two here. Whilst they continue to battle it out, it's potentially bringing Titan Guto into this battle for the lead. The gap was over 3 seconds at the end of lap 1, and Titan Guto since then has just been simply bringing it down and bringing it down and bringing it down. And he could definitely be in contention here for a race win here for the Tier 1s at Motive tonight here at Brands Hatch, penultimate round of the season. Jazzman stands on the verge of taking the championship. Is that going to be on his mind here tonight? Knows he only needs a P5 in tonight's race to win the championship, but is he going to go all out for the victory, knowing that he could get the championship in the bag before we even turn a wheel next week at Kyle Army? Obviously Kyle Army, his home race, I'm sure he wouldn't mind to do it next week, but I'm sure he wouldn't also mind the peace of mind knowing he doesn't even have to turn up next week, or doesn't really need to make an effort. But he is currently within a second of his teammate, his old rival Tynus in the house right now. Titan Guto is reeling these guys in though. The more they continue to battle, the more he's bringing himself into that fight. Ludo continuing to reel in Arlampa, but PS Fitz is also closing in on Arlampa as well. Mary Louise has got Matev within a second of him. Karmasar's right on the back of Nico, and in fact, Karmasar's dropped it, so he's no longer on the back of him anymore. And High Grade's ahead of him as well. Spuzz and Epiphany battling down to the end of the back straight. Tom Quarantine's on them as well, so all of these guys are now ahead of Karmasar. Where's Karmasar come out in all this? I think he's come out in P15 ahead of Brando, but Spuzz there keep being ahead of Epiphany just about, and Tom Quarantine and LOL 3000 in hot pursuit, but Karmasar there is in P15 just ahead of Brando, so that's where he's come out of. He was on the back of Nico Barani battling over 9th place, but it's all gone a little bit pear-shaped there for him. As we watch this battle for 11th place, these guys, Spuzz, Epiphany, Tom Quarantine and LOL 3000 coming down towards the final corner, and Tom looks like he's attacking a bit on Epiphany coming through the final corner we go. Epiphany didn't get a great run, but neither did Tom, to be fair. It looked like he was a bit sideways. LOL 3000 looking to the outside here on Tom as they come down towards Paddock Hill Bend. Tom's got the inside covered off and should have that held onto there. But is LOL 3000 going to look to go up the inside into Druids? No. Tom's got that covered off on the inside there. Holding on to that one for the time being. Tynus is gapped to Jazzman just under a second. These two continue to battle it out. They've got Titan Guto about 3 seconds behind him at the moment. Mary Louise is still on the back of Matev as they're battling over 7th and 8th places. 7th and 8th places right now. You've got High Grade on the back of Nico as these guys are coming down the back straight once again. Epiphany still trying to keep that pressure on Spuzz for the time being. LOL 3000 within a second of Tom Quarantine. 18 of you currently watching the stream. Guys, if you're enjoying, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel, and join us at www.motiveracing.com if you're enjoying right now. Here is the battle for the lead between the two arch nemesis here, the teammates. They're friends as well, but the arch nemesis is out on track. Tynus in the house managed to take the win last week at Suzuka, and Jazzman's going to be absolutely determined to make sure it doesn't happen again. Goes a bit wide there coming out of turn 1, but doesn't get enough of a run into Druids, and Tynus in the house has still got the ascendancy at the moment. Putting his car in all the right places at the moment. As we see a bit of a slide there from Matev coming through Paddock Hill Bend, but no dramas. Epiphany still on the back of Spuzz. You can see there LOL 3000 within 0.3 of a second of Tom as they're coming on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. But here are the top two still going at it right now. It's down to the end of the back straight they go. 0.3 of a second separating the top two, Tynus and Jazzman. See a bit of a slide there from Epiphany. He gets it a bit wrong as he was looking on the back of Spuz there, coming out of the corner. Gets it onto the grass a little bit, but holds on to it just about. As Lowell 3000 has now got ahead of Tom as well. So Lowell 3000 into 13th place there, making that move. Back to the two leaders here, coming through the final corner to complete their 8th laps of the race. Still no changes. Tynus in the house has been stone cold, making no mistakes, not bowing down to this pressure that his teammates trying to put on him here. Jazzman, as I said before, has got a lot at stake here tonight. Knows he could take his championship. Titan Guto must have made a mistake as he's trying to chase him down, because he's 4 seconds behind him now. He was 2.5 before. He was bringing that gap down at one point, but these two have now got a reasonable buffer to him at this point. PS Fit's closing up onto the back of Ludo here. You can see under a second separating those two going into Druids. So here come the two leaders once again down to the end of the back straight. 0.4 of a second separating them, so nothing at all in the grand scheme of things. PS Fid's trying to get closer to the back of Ludo, but still can't really get within striking distance. Spuz knocking on the door of the top 10 spot here with High Grade just in front of him. High Grade goes a bit wide there, but gets a reasonable enough exit out of the corner. He's holding on to that one. You've got a train of cars here, Epiphany, Lowell 3000 and Tom here battling over 12th place. But here come the two leaders once again, coming out of the last corner, and they're about to complete lap 9 of the race. PS Fitz still can't find a way through ahead of Ludo. Mary Louise is still within a second right now of Matev. But this battle here for P10 is absolutely hotting up. High Grade, Spuz and Epiphany running closest. Epiphany's got the run on the outside here. He's going to make the move. In fact, he's actually been passed up the inside by Lowell 3000. So Lowell 3000 has made the move on Epiphany. Did Epiphany make a mistake there coming through the final sector? He must have made a mistake coming out of the penultimate corner. So that moves Lowell 3000 up into 13th place. Epiphany's now got Karmasar on him as well. So he's going to have to watch out. And Epiphany seems to have a bit of damage there on the rear of that car. So as he has a bit of a knock somewhere. But Lowell 3000 moves himself through into 13th place. Nonetheless, PS Fid's still trying to hassle the back of Ludo. Mary Louise within a second still of Matev. High Grade looking up the inside of Nico coming into turn 4. Nico goes a bit wide. Does he get it turned around? He goes a bit wide onto the grass, but gets a reasonable enough exit here. Should be able to hold on coming down to the end of the back straight. But High Grade now looking up the inside, trying to distract him a little bit in the mirrors, but nothing doing at the moment. 20 of you currently watching the stream. Smash the like button, guys, if you're enjoying. Also like the video. Well, I've said that already, but join us at www.motiveracing.com and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As here we go, the two leaders still separated by barely anything. 0.3 of a second into Paddock Bend. PS Fidz has just dropped off of Ludo a little bit throughout the course of this lap. That's now looks like it's over a second there between those two. Mary Louise has just dropped off of Matev as well, so you see that maybe the turbulent air starting to affect the front end grip of some of the chasing drivers here. High Grade's just we're still actually on the back of Nico here as they're coming out of the last corner, but Spuz is looking ever closer to the back of High Grade as they're coming over the line here to complete lap 10. As into Paddock Bend we go for the 11th time in this race. Spuz going late on the brakes there, had a little look, thought about it, didn't he, for a split a second, but just thought no, definitely not. Not necessary. Oh, it's in the background. We see Karmasar losing it. I was just flicking to Epiphany because he was within a second of Lowell 3000. Karmasar there bins it out of Druids. It's going to have damage on the front of the car there. That's going to cost him quite a bit here in this race. I wonder if he's going to come into the pits and get that fixed as soon as possible, because that's going to be some pretty hefty damage there for him. We're going back to the battle here between the two leaders, Jazzman and Tynus. 0.3 of a second still separating them as they're going through the final corner, but Jazzman just can't get a run here. I reckon this race is going to be won in the pits. Personally, I think that's going to be where this is won or lost. As we see the battle between Ludo and PS Fidz still continuing on here, as these guys coming over the line here to complete lap 11. Still no change between those two. Nico and High Grade, 3/10 apart. Spuzzers on the back of them. You can see Tom in the background, a couple of seconds clear of Lowell 3000. There's Epiphany in the background as well, not too far off of Lowell 3000. Oh, as PS Fitz gets it all wrong there. Coming out of the penultimate corner, he was trying to make the move there, and Ludo defending for everything he's got, putting his car, making his car as wide as possible, and PS Fitz nowhere to go. Has to just wait a minute longer. As here's High Grade on the back of Nico as they're coming down the start-finish straight. As High Grade looking to the inside into Paddock Hill Bend, but still can't do anything. Spuzz and Tom there running in the background. There's Lowell 3000 ahead of Epiphany. Carmissar still going there in P15 right now. But Jazzman and Tynus separated by just over a second at the moment. So Jazzman's actually leading the race. When did this happen? Jazzman's leading. No way. Oh wow. Jazzman has taken the lead of the race. Tynus in the house now running in P2. So when did this happen? I did not see that coming until I switched to them. I just flicked to them a moment ago. Oh wow, it happened a couple of laps ago. So Jazzman leads the race. And wow. So he's now 1.3 seconds clear of Tynus in the house. Oh, Tynus is going to be absolutely fuming. But to be fair, the pressure that Jazzman was putting on, I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls away now. Maybe the strategy could play a factor here. But Titan Guto is about 5 seconds behind these guys. I wonder if Titan Guto is full tanking it maybe. I wonder if Jazzman's full tanking it as well, to be fair. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he is, because he started in, well, I know he started in P2, but I think with his team, I think they both, I don't know, it's hard to tell, isn't it, really? It's very hard to tell. You just don't know, because last week at Suzuka, we saw Tynus obviously go to full race on one fuel load. So it's really difficult to know. But the gap currently ebbing and flowing. It was 1.3, it's now down to 1.1 here between Jazzman and Tynus. But Titan Guto is only 4.8 off for the lead, so he's certainly not out of this battle for the win either here. But he needs to keep up this pace. He needs to keep that pressure on. PS Fitz is within a second of Ludo right now, still as these two battle over P5. So no changes there between those two. Tom and Nico both within a second of Spuzz at the moment as well. As you can see, High Grade there in the foreground, just going through your shop. And there's Epiphany, Lowell 3000 and Carmissar, who are continuing to battle it out over 13th place. But here are your two leaders coming out of turn 3 into turn 4 right now. What's the timetable looking like for the leaders? Don't know, I don't want to get it up because it will just... go on then. Doesn't say. Jazzman fastest is a 1:23.7. Oh shoot. Tynus' quickest is a 1:24.1. Titan Guto's quickest is a 24.2. So actually, Titan Guto's been really consistent, and actually his last lap was his quickest. But Jazzman and Titus have had quicker pace, but Jazzman's been the quickest of all of them, but he's not as consistent. Whereas Titan Guto is now actually bringing the gap down. I think he's looked after his tyres quite well in this first stint as Titan Guto. I wonder if maybe he's full tanking it and these two are half tanking it. That could potentially be what's going on here. And we're not going to know until the pit stops are done. That's going to be when we really find out what's happening. Piersford's still on the back of Ludo. You can see there you've got Tom within a second of Spuzz. Nico's right on the back of Tom there. Tom got onto the grass as well, which would have definitely given Nico a little bit of a kind of a hurry up here. It's down to the final corner we come again. But Nico for the time being tucking in here behind Tom. He's looking to the inside into turn one. Is he going to send one here? Oh, he's going to go for it. Is Nico Barani? Wow, look at that. Down the inside he goes. He's got the inside here for Druids. Tom giving him the space there. Bit of contact between the two of them as Nico pushes it wide. Nico makes the move and completes it up into 11th place. Tom Quarantine had to really give him the space. Nico squeezed into the edge of the track. Tom not happy with it at all. Flashing his lights in indignance there. I can't say I blame him really. Nico was a little bit below the belt there, I've got to say, but he moves himself through up into P10 nonetheless. Gap at the front, just over a second between Jazzman and Titus right now. Titan Guto continuing to keep these guys within the same page. He's only 4.7 off of the lead, so he's matching the top two right now in third place. So maybe just doing a slightly better job of looking after his tyres here. Tom's still on the back of Nico as they're coming down towards the final corner. You can see they've gapped Spuzz by a couple of seconds here. But Tom trying to come back at Nico. Well, he'll probably be a bit rolled up after that contact that we saw coming into Druids on the previous lap. It was a bit unnecessary on the part of Nico. But Tom's showing that he's got the pace of him, and these two very evenly matched at this point. Ludo's still keeping PS Vids behind. This has been a battle that's been going on since the beginning of the race. And PS Vids is showing no signs of getting that move done here on Ludo right now. And to be fair, it's a track where it's very, very hard to do anything or make any overtakes. So I'm not surprised that Ludo is able to stand up to this pressure so well. 20 of you currently watching the stream tonight, guys. Absolute honour to have you all with us. If you are enjoying, please do smash the like button and also subscribe to the channel as well, and join us at www.motiveracing.com if you're watching for the first time. I know I shared the stream on a couple of Discord groups, so if you're coming from any of those, definitely feel free to join our Discord server through our website, which is in the description. We've got plenty of ACC leagues lined up for next season, but this GT3 league on a Sunday will be coming back, but also hopefully a Porsche Super Cup on Saturday and a GT3 Sprint League as well on a Wednesday. So there's plenty to get involved with here on the PlayStation 5 platform. Exclusive to the PS5 at the moment on ACC. We've also got leagues on Project Cars 2 as well, which is obviously cross-play across both generations of PlayStation, and likewise F1 as well, which we have got spaces for at the moment. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. PS Vid's looking closer to the back of Ludo than he has done in the last few laps. Tom Quarantine's still right on the back of Nico Barani at the moment. But PS Vid's still trying to put the pressure here on Ludo as they're coming back down this long straight which leads down towards the double right-hander, the banked right-handers. As Jazzman nearly 2 seconds ahead of Tinus, so he's managed to pull out a bit of a gap over the course of this lap as Jazzman. And he's also pulled out a gap to Titan Guto, who is now nearly 6 seconds behind Jazzman. So Jazzman's just turning the screw a little bit, turning up the pressure. Maybe he's on a half-tank tyre change strategy here. Although surely Tinus is doing the same thing, you would think. see a back marker there. That's Glenn moving well out of the way there for Jazzman onto the grass. Scooter Paul doing the same thing as well, so no dramas there. Scooter Paul and Glenn are letting the leaders through as Jazzman and Tynus continue on their way. And Jazzman's just extended the gap over Tynus a little bit on that last lap. It's now 2.3 seconds. Titan Guto now over 6 seconds behind Jazzman at the moment, so Jazzman really is stepping it up a little bit here. As Gina Africa there said something and then retracted the message. Gina Africa, what did you say? I want to read the message. But anyway, we can see here Titan Guto making his way through the traffic. That's Glenn there moving aside. But here comes Jazzman over the line here to start lap 20 of the race. Tynus now still running in P2 at the moment. He's 4 seconds adrift nearly, so he's lost massive time on that lap. You can see Titan Guto also losing a load of time to Jazzman, so he's now 8 seconds off the lead here. So those two, Tynus and Titan, really getting caught out in that traffic, which is obviously Glenn and Paul. And these two are still fighting over 17th place. That's going to be frustrating for both Tynus and Titan in that situation. But again, fuel, strategy and tyres could definitely play a factor here in the outcome of this race, and we just don't know what the situation is with Titan Guto or Tynus, to be fair. But it's all going to come out in the wash over the course of a 1 hour race. Only Brando has been into the pits of everybody out on track right now, so nobody's come in except Brando. Are we going to be seeing a lot of half tank strategies here tonight? Is everybody waiting to the halfway point to pull the trigger? Jazzman coming round, Tynus coming round, Titan coming round. These three staying out for now. What about our Lamper? Is our Lamper going to come in at the end of this lap? Totally Zero K saying this is a good show from leaders with the sheer consistency that they have per lap. Good thing to take from. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you rarely see any of these guys making a mistake. It's much easier to follow. One thing that I'll say about commentating on Tier 1 versus Tier 2, it's much easier to follow what's going on because generally from one lap to the next there'll only be about 1 or 2 position changes. So whereas in Tier 2 you might get someone dropping it, or you might get someone making a mistake and there'll be a load of changes, and it's harder to keep track of who's where. In Tier 1 you kind of get used to an order. You can kind of like, you see a kind of a pattern emerging, whereas in Tier 2 it can be a bit more random and a bit more, I don't know, just like unpredictable, that's the word. As we see Karmasar on the back of Lowell 3000 coming into the final corner. But Karmasar's got big damage on the front as Lowell 3000 pits, so Lowell 3000 becomes the second driver in this race to make his mandatory pit stop here. As in he comes. Gap between Jazzman and Tynus just under 5 seconds. Titan just under 9 seconds off for the leader Jazzman. PS Vids is still on the back of Ludo here, as these guys battle it out over P5 and 6. So here's Ludo and PS Vids once again coming into turn 1. And there's not much really between them at this point. Jazzman 6 seconds ahead of Tynus at the moment. Titan Guto 9 seconds off of the lead, 3 seconds behind Tynus in the house at this stage. So PS Vids still on the back of Ludo, you can see those two. But PS Vids has actually lost it here, so he's dropped it somewhere. I'm not sure where, but he's now nearly 3 seconds behind Ludo. So PS Vids has made a mistake and now finds himself well adrift of Ludo. Nico Barani's still within a second of high grade. He's managed to reel in a bit of time here on the back of him. Tom Quarantine now coming out of the pits, so he's now done his pit stop here at the end of lap 21. As you can see in the background there's Brando, who's just ahead of the race leader Jazzman. But obviously Jazzman coming around to put a lap on him, as there we go, into Druids we go. Jazzman down the inside, easy pickings there. Doesn't look like he got held up at all there. So you see Arlamper into the pits here, but a lot of drivers going past the halfway mark here by the looks of it, which is interesting. But Arlamper coming in, looks like Yellow Army's now done his pit stop. He's now off and away. Glenn also coming in. PS Vid's coming in as well. So lots of drivers here coming in at the end of lap 22 to make their mandatory pit stops. But it's still Jazzman out the front at the moment by just under 6 seconds over Tynus in the house. As Tony 0K says, need to cheer Ludo too. He'll be practicing for this race. Definitely so. I think Ludo's been putting in a bit of graft here. Currently running in P4, so a good showing from him. He's 7 seconds clear of Matev as well. So some very, very good points. The top three are kind of in a league of their own. Jazzman, Tynus and Titan Guto, but everybody else, to be fair, doing a very, very solid job indeed. Ludo, Matev and Mary Louise are going to score some good points from tonight as it stands. Arlamper, PS Vids and Tom kind of in that battle as well. As Scuderia pull into the pits here at the end of lap 23. Oh, I think 21 for him actually, because he's 2 laps down apparently. But it might be lap 22, I'm not sure. But Jazzman's still leading the race by 6 seconds right now over Tynus in the house. You can see that Titan Guto's bringing a gap down a little bit to Tynus at the moment, bit by bit. He's 9 seconds off the lead. What's the situation with the fuel and with the tyres? I think maybe all of these guys, the top three, have all gone for a full tank because they're going well beyond the halfway mark. Or are they just pushing it a little bit beyond just to throw a decoy? Potentially. It's difficult to see. But I reckon the top three have all full tanked here, which just goes to show how strong their pace has been tonight. Jazzman continuing round. Tynus coming past the pits, he's staying out. Titan Guto as well, staying out on the track. So these three all continuing at it here. And Jazzman is slowly eking out the gap to Tynus in the house. Almost 7 seconds now between these two. Titan Guto not really making much of an impression on Tynus in the house at the moment, as Titan Guto just putting a lap there on Brando, and Brando sees him coming and does not make it any harder than it has to be. And Titan Guto moves himself through into clean air. As we see Matev coming into the pits here at the end of lap 24. And so is Mary Louise as well, so those two both coming in here. So we see Matev, Mary Louise and Spuzz all coming in on the same lap there at the end of lap 24. PS Vid's right on the back of Tom Quarantinus. These guys coming down the start-finish straight here. 19 of you currently watching this stream. Smash the like button, guys, if you're enjoying what you're watching right now. Jazzman currently leading the race by over 7 seconds to Tynus. Titan Guto in third. We believe all of these three are running full tanks, so they're running in their representative order here. As As there is our Lamper running in P9. He's a few seconds clear of Mary Louise. Tom's got ahead of Mary Louise, I think, in the pit stops, as Tom is right on the back of PS Vids. PS Vids has actually just made the move there on Tom. So PS Vids moves himself through into 11th place. In fact, he's now in P10 because he's ahead of Mary Louise as well. So PS Vids gaining 2 places there in one sector, up into 10th place. And obviously, when the pit stops happen, that will push him up the order a bit more. He'll be either in either 5th or 6th, I think, once the pit stops are done. But I tell you what, PS Vids' battle is with Ludo, because that was the driver who PS Vids was on the back of for much of the first part of this race. The thing is, PS Vids has had to deal with so much traffic during his pit window that he might end up losing out to Ludo. Also, Ludo might be on a full tank as well, which will mean that his pit stop will be a lot shorter. But PS Vids will have better grip towards the end of the race, so it's going to be a tricky one to see what happens. But I reckon Ludo's probably full tanked it, so that will play into his hands, obviously, in that battle for what I think was P5 before we came in. Our Lamper running in a net P4. He's 8 seconds ahead of PS Vids right now. So I reckon our Lamper's probably looking quite good for 4th place here in this race. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens when Ludo eventually comes into the pits. Noticing here on the timing screen that Tynus in the house has brought the gap down by 7 tenths, coming through that one sector there on Jazzman. So did Jazzman make a bit of a mistake here, which has just lost him a bit of time to his rival? I mean, it's only one mistake, but stuff like that can lose you the race, you know, if it's a big one. But Jazzman currently holding it together for the time being. He's got a bit of traffic here just up ahead of him, but he hasn't had to negotiate any traffic by the looks of it, so it can't have been that which caused that, whatever it was. But Tynus coming over the line. What's the gap between these two? It's 6.9, so Jazzman gained 4 tenths through that final sector there. So he's got it back together again. Oh, massive slide there from Tynus coming through Paddock Hill. Huge slide there, holds it just about. But that would have cost him a couple of tenths there. See Matev here making a move up the inside. And he's got ahead of Mary Louise beautifully there. Has he? I think he has. Yeah, he has. He's done him. He's actually well ahead of him already there. So Matev has already disappeared on Mary Louise. He's cleared him by miles. So Matev moves himself through up into 12th place. Epiphany there into the pits at the end of lap 28. Or 27 for him, I think. Jazzman managed to gap Tynus by 8 tenths on that last lap, so Jazzman is flying right now, and the momentum is definitely with him at this stage. The race just settling down a little bit here for the Tier 1s here for the GT3 Championship and Motive. Only Jazzman leading by 8 seconds, and as it stands is in a championship taking position. As we said tonight, all he needs to do is finish in P5 to take the championship, and he's currently running in that position at the moment, so looking set to take his 5th title at Motive, and it will be his 2nd championship in the PS5 GT3 Championship. As we see Commissar into the pits here at the end of lap 29. See Matev looking to the inside of Tom Quarantine there, going into Druids, but it's not close enough there to make a move. Tom's got that covered at the moment. Gap up to 9 seconds between Jazzman and Tynus. You can see he's just gradually eking out that gap. Titan Guto's gaining a little bit here on Tynus, but not massively. As Matev here is tucking into the slipstream on Tom Quarantine. Looking to the outside here, coming down to the end of the back straight, but again, nothing doing really there for him. Just waiting for his opportunity right now. Goes a bit wide there onto the grass. But yeah, Tom Quarantine there keeping that move at the moment. See Matev getting ever closer to the back of Tom Quarantine here as they're coming through the penultimate corner. He's just looking for a gap. Tom's got it covered. He's just parking his car on the inside of the track, covering any gaps. Matev creeping closer and closer. But Tom's getting good traction out of the slower corners and isn't really giving Matev much to work with. Coming down towards Paddock Hill, the gaps 4/10 of a second. Tom's got a bit more daylight here this time around. As up the hill towards Druids, he's just nowhere near close enough. The chief overtaking spot on the track, and he's just not really in range at all, is Matev. He's just going to have to keep waiting for his opportunity here. But this is the only real battle going out on track at the moment. You've got Titan Guto within 3 seconds of Tynus, but not really making some significant gains at this point. Massive having a little look there on Tom, just trying to distract him in the mirrors a little bit. But Tom holding firm at the moment. So coming through into the final sector. This is the part of the track where you can force people into a mistake. He's right on his bumper here, is Matev. He's looking to try and make a move. As we can see there, Tom doesn't really need to defend. He's leaving the door open because he's just far enough ahead coming into the final corner. Matev trying to go for a cutback here, but I don't think he's going to get enough of one. He's got a better run down the start-finish straight. We'll close in a little bit, but he's going to get there a little bit too late into Paddock Hill Bend. Once again, Tom just keeping himself cool with the cool, calm, collected head there. He's just doing what he needs to do. Matev there once again late on the brakes into Druids, but just nowhere near close enough. As our Lampers closing up onto the back of Nico here, but Nico still needs to pit in this race. And obviously the guys up ahead of him have already, well, the guys up ahead of him need to as well. So Jazzman, Tynus, Titan, Guto, Ludo, High Grade and Nico, they all need to come in. Our Lamper right on the back of Nico here. Nico running into the pits, so that now releases our Lamper into clean air here. Matev's still trying to hassle the back of Tom coming through the final corner. Spuz has managed to get the move, I think, done on Epiphany, has he? Yes, he has. So Spuz moves himself through up into 13th place. We caught the tail end of that move as it was happening. Epiphany's going to try and come back at him, I think. They've also got somebody else on the back of them. That is somebody trying to lap them, or is that car a lap down on them? That's Scuderia Paul, who's a lap down on them, because he's making the move actually and unlapping himself there on Epiphany. So ballsy move there from Scuderia Paul, but Spuz up into 13th place nonetheless there. Tom and Matev now battling for P8 rather than P9, because obviously the pit stop there for Nico coming out in P11 there. In fact, no, he's come out in P13, I think he's come out in, I think, by the looks of it. Or P12, maybe. Yeah, P12 there for Nico. But Matev's still on the back of Tom Quarantine right now, 4/10 of a second between them. Jazzman is over 10 seconds clear now of Tynus in the house. And he's staying out for the time being, is Jazzman. Is he going to leave it until the very last lap of this race to come in? Tynus staying out as well. Titan Guto also staying out. When are Ludo and Highway going to come into the pits? That's the question here. Matev's still right on the back of Tom as they're coming over the line here to complete their 34th lap to the race, I think, because I think they're a lap down. But obviously that will change once Jazzman comes in, the race leader. To any of you currently watching the stream, guys, if you've enjoyed tonight or you're enjoying right now, please do hit the like button. So you're watching Tom and Matev come in through the final corner. They're about to start lap 36 for them. And they are still going at it, hammer and tongs here. Up towards Druids they go. You can see Matev looking to the inside here and Tom, but he's just a little bit too far back. He's closer this time than he has been in the last few laps, but still nothing doing. PS Vids looks like he might be closing up onto the back of our Lamper at this point. It's only 1.6 now separating those two. So that could be a battle that we've got to watch out for in a moment. But this is still the fight for 8th place between Tom and Matev. Jazzman's still leading the race. He's still continuing out there right now. He's 11 seconds now clear of Tynus nearly. Titan Guto is actually bringing a gap down to Tynus. So could Titan Guto be in for a 2nd place here in this race? But the battle here for 8th place still continues to rage on between Tom and Matev right now. It's through the middle sector they go. But we're very much into the closing stages of the Tier 1 race tonight for round 7 of 8 here at Motive for the PlayStation 5 GT3 Championship. If you're watching for the first time, guys, please do join us at www.motiveracing.com. If you're enjoying what you're watching, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Join us for our new season. The new season sign-ups will be up in the next week or so. Hoping to run a 3rd tier. We've had 2 tiers for this season. We've had over 40 people turn up every single week. We've had over 20 turn up for each tier every single week. It's been absolutely fantastic. I've loved every minute of this season. We're also hoping to add a Porsche Super Cup on Saturdays and a GT3 Sprint League on Wednesdays as well. So plenty to get involved with here on ACC. As Matev still trying to pressure the back of Tom going through Druids. PS Vids still pressuring the back of our Lamper as well. Just under half a second between them as they're coming up on some traffic. And who is that traffic? That is the number 30. Oh, it's Tynus who's just lapped them. So it's not traffic, it's just the driver who's just got and lapped them. So Tynus there into clean air. But PS Vid's still trying to put this pressure here on the back of our Lamper. It's Matev within half a second of Tom quarantine, but Tom's just gapped Matev a little bit over the course of this lap. He's just managed to eke out that gap ever so slightly. Titan is still keeping Tynus on his toes here, 2 seconds between them. And Tynus having obviously put a lap on that traffic, that might have slowed him down a little bit. As Jazzman is into the pits here at the end of lap 38, and Tynus is following him in as well. And I tell you what, Titan Guto is coming in as well. So those 3 all coming in here at the end of lap 38. All 3 of the top 3 making their pit stop at the same time. Now, are any of them going to have longer pit stops? Have any of them not put enough fuel in? Jazzman's already away, so no dramas. But I tell you what, Tynus and Titan were quite close before they came in. So if Titan can get a very quick stop here, maybe he can come out ahead of Tynus. And I tell you what, it's going to be close, but Tynus just comes out ahead of him. But Titan Guto has gained massively on Tynus in the pit stops. He's now right on his bumper here. So Tynus and Titan Guto separated by less than a second. As we're going to have, I reckon, 5 laps I reckon we're going to have in this race. Because Jazzman is already coming towards almost at the end of the 1st sector already here. So we're going to have 5 more laps in this race. 5 laps for Titan Guto to have a crack at Tynus in the house here. Or is it going to be 5 more laps? Is it actually going to be 4 more laps maybe? Because we would have started this lap at about 5:50. I'm just doing the maths. No, I think it's 4 laps. So 3.5 now in this race. But Tynus and Titan Guto separated by 0.6 of a second as Tynus going to get all wide there. Obviously cold tyres playing an effect, or not, well, not massively cold tyres because they're still running on the same ones that they had, but obviously being stationary in the pits for sort of like 10 seconds and going at that slow speed would have cooled the tyres down ever so slightly. But Tynus and Titan Guto still running very, very close here. This is going to go down to the wire between these two. PS Vids is now right on the back of our Lamper as well. Less than 1/10 of a second separated them at the previous checkpoint. That would have been coming over the line. I imagine our Lamper must have defended the inside coming through Paddock Hill to have stayed ahead. Matev is right on Tom quarantine as he's looking to the inside, and Tom defends the inside. Now Matev's going to be forced around the outside here. Into Druids they go. And Tom just covers the inside, but Matev's going to have the inside for turn 3. Is he going to look to make a move here? Having a look, but he's not going to make it there. But they've got High Grade, who's actually nowhere near them, to be fair. Yeah, he's nowhere near them. I saw that gap 8 tenths. I thought, oh, he must be there. No, that was probably when he was in the pits. But Tom and Matev still giving it everything here in the closing laps of this race. Tynus and Titan, 4 tenths of a second apart, coming through the first sector checkpoint here. 2.5 laps in this race. Race leader Jazzman 10 seconds clear of these two. He's just putting a lap on some traffic. That is, I think, that's Tom Quarantine and Matev actually. So they're about to be lapped here. These two, who are battling hammer and tongs over 7th and 8th places, are about to be lapped by the race leader, who will be hoping they can let him through with no problems. But Jazzman here seems to have been let through there by Matev without any problems, and now can focus his attention on this driver here who's just in front of him, which is Tom Quarantine. But Titan Guto still on the back of Titus in the house as they're coming through the final corner. There's JR commenting there with a shirt and a tie. Oh, Jazz looking strong. Yeah, definitely so. Not sure what the shirt and tie is all about, but Totally okay saying definitely tyre related. Or no, interesting how they managing the tyres at that speed. Yeah, certainly. Oh yeah, managing their tyres. Oh, I can see why JR commenting a shirt and tie now. But Titus in the house still running just ahead of Titan Guto, but Titan Guto's trying to pile this pressure on him in the closing laps of the race. PS Vids must have made a mistake here because he's nearly 5 seconds behind Arlampa, so it's looking like Arlampa should be able to bring it home for P5 without any dramas here. Tom Quarantine is still keeping Matev at bay just about. Nico Barani is actually on the back of Spuz here, but Spuz seems to have gapped him here a little bit coming through the first sector. It looks like it's a bit more than 4 tenths between those two at the moment. It's 7 tenths between them now. But Titan Guto, can he do something here with Titus in the house? Can he force him into a mistake here as we're about to start the final lap of the race? Or are we? Maybe we're not, because I'll tell you what, Jazzman might be about to... I'll tell you what, I think we're going to have 2 more laps here. I think we're going to have 2 more laps. So yeah, Jazzman, this isn't going to be the final lap of the race. The lap after this will be the final lap, unless Jazzman slows down at the end, but that would be a risk, seeing as Tynus, well, Tynus isn't gonna start another lap after this one, but Jazzman would be cutting it fine. He'd definitely have to like find a gap to fall into there. He'd need to make sure that the gap's over 2 seconds to Tynus if he is to run the clock out here at the end of this race. I think we're going to have 1 more lap after this, if I'm perfectly honest. But nonetheless, it is Tynus who's still keeping Titan Guto at bay by the skin of his teeth. Matev still can't find a way through ahead of Tom Quarantine. These two have been running nip and tuck for the last few laps, but no dice here for Matev. But Titan Guto still trying to do everything he can, but Tynus has gapped him a little bit coming to the first sector. And he's just looking a little bit more comfortable there as Tynus in the house. But he has got a bit of traffic here just up ahead of him. And that I think is, it's not Scooter, Paul. It's not even an Aston Martin. Who is it? Can't work out who it is. Oh, it's definitely not an Aston Martin. Ah. Yeah, it's a Merc. It's high grade. It's a high grade here. It's going to move aside, go a bit wide there, coming to the final corner, and that's going to allow Tynus and Titan through. Oops, we didn't want to do that. Whoops. But here we are, final lap of the race. Jazzman coming into Druids for the final time. He's gapped 9 seconds right now over Tynus in the house and Titan Guto. I think Jazzman tried to slow it down a bit and then thought better of it. But here they come. The second and third places coming through Druids for the final time. And Titan Guto was pushing Tynus like mad in the final part of this race, but I think Tynus is just going to hold on as long as he keeps it together and doesn't crack under pressure on this final lap. Matev within 4 tenths of a second of Tom Quarantine right now as they are coming down the back straight, but they've obviously well, they're a lap down actually, so they will finish the race on this lap. Jazzman is just a couple of corners ahead of them as he's coming through the final half a lap, but here is the man of the moment. He didn't need the win tonight. All he needed was a 5th place in tonight and he would be able to take the championship, but he's gone and done it in emphatic fashion here as Jazzman He took second place in qualifying, lined up alongside his teammate Titus on the front row. But since the beginning, he looked like he was just cracking on with it, really putting Titus under pressure. Eventually managed to get ahead, and since he got ahead, he pulled out the gap, and he has controlled the race from there. In the end, quite a comfortable win for Jazzman. He is a 5-time champion here at Motive, and he is a 2-time champion of the PS5 GT3 Championship. What a season from Jazzman again. He does it with a round to spare. What a season, what a man, what a driver. Titus in the house takes second, just holds off Titan Guto in the end. Ludo will come around shortly. Tom Quarantine and Matev have finished in 7th and 8th, so Matev couldn't do Tom at the end. Highgrade comes over in 9th ahead of Mary Louise in 10th. Spaz is coming in towards the final corner. Ludo's got a fair way to go yet until he crosses the line. Yellow Army's finished the race 2 laps down in 15th place. Spaz will be next over the line as he comes over in 11th. He's not too far ahead of Nico, who's going to finish in 12th place here in this one. Where is Ludo? As Nico comes over in 12th. Ludo coming through into the final corner right now. Brando's just coming up on the line. He will finish in 16th place, 2 laps down. As there he is. Ludo coming up towards the line. 4th place for him on the lead lap. Lol 3000 will be next over the line to finish in 13th place. Lamper is going to finish this one in P5. And PS Vids will be the last driver to finish on the lead lap in P6. And that is that, I think, because Scuderia Paul has not taken the checkered flag, so he's in the pits. And that is that there, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight, for the PlayStation 5 GT3 Championship. Jazzman in the end taking a commanding victory by over 10 seconds over Titus in the house. Titus and Titan completing the podium. Had a good little scrap at the end, but Titan couldn't quite get ahead of him. Ludo in 4th. I think we had somebody leave the session before the end, so they weren't classified. Hopefully I'll be able to track who that was and figure it out and classify them anyway, but if not, please guys, do stay in the session to the end, because it does actually mean that you don't come up on the leaderboard. But what a race that was, guys, for round 7, and Jazzman is your 5-time champion here at Motive on the PlayStation 5, or on the PlayStation in general, because not all of his championships are on the PlayStation 5. That's his 2nd championship in the PS5 GT3 Championship. It's his 5th title overall. He took 2 championships in the PS4 GT3 League, and he also took one in the PS4 GT3 Sprint Cup as well. So Jazzman, a 5-time champion here at Motive. He's got the accolades. He's got so many credentials to his name, and he is your race winner and your champion here tonight. Titus and Titan Guto honourable mentions, but they couldn't quite get there. But guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight across both tiers. We had 41 drivers turn out across both tiers, which is a good turnout as always. Very happy with that, great to see. If you did enjoy, please smash the like button, as it really does help us out an enormous amount. If you're one of the drivers watching this back, please share it with your friends, family members and otherwise associates. And we'll see you for next week. The final round of the season will be at Kyle Army. Both championships for tier 1 and 2 have been decided, so not much on the line, but we're just going to go racing and have some good fun next week and round off the season in the best possible way. But from me, it's a very good night. We will see you in the next one. Take it easy, everybody, and we'll see you for the final round next week.